ebile ha gongwe re tsogile di re amile go gaisa mme re kgonne gore re goroge ha re leng teng. Halala motho wa mme, halala. Gola lephata, gola. Ke batla re tsogenyana pele ga ke bitsa mokauleng wa me tla ke supe sengwe bomme le borre malatsing ano ra make up akere ha re make up go na le sengwe se ke se etseng tlhoko re rata dithawele tse di tshweu ko di hoteleng mme wa ile sengwe ka thawele e tshweu ha o sena go tlhapa o tlhapile tota o ikgobile ka scrub sa teng o bo o itshutla ka thawele ya teng o kgona go tlhapa ka yone malatsi a latelang a mabedi ke potso ka gore a ke roa bo tlhapile o le phepa le yone e le phepa o tswa mo metsing ke eng ha o se ka ke wa e boeletsa go lo mo go supa gore le dilo tse di lebegang e ka re di itekanetse go na le go sa itekanela mo go tsone jaanong ke motlotlo wa letsatsi la gompieno gore hela jaaka thaweleo e lebega e le tshweu mme le wena o sena go tlhapa e be nna le masalla a go supa gore go na le go gongwe ha go sa siamang teng le rona ka tsela e ntseng jalo re tlo go tlhola re phuthulogile mo letsatsing la gompieno gore re tlotle ka dikgantse re tla ka ditharabollo tsa tsone ke sa senye nako ke kopa gore ke bitse representative from police a tla gore bolella ka the GB situational analysis mme superintendent ke bone Emily Kula ke tla be ke go sutetse mongana mo pele le gofi.
Program Director, Honorable Minister of Youth and Gender Affairs, Permanent Secretary, District Commissioner, Jokosi Tedilin Tenghanu, Mayor of Francistown, Honorable Jokosi Tedilin Tenghanu, Mayor of Francistown, Honorable Councillors, Town Clerk, all members of ministers fraternal, all heads of departments here present, all media houses present, ladies and gentlemen, I greet you all in the name of our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ. Ke bidiwa Inspector Mbe go tswa go Botswana Police mo boemong ba ga Superintendent Kula. Ke tle go presenter GBV. The Botswana Police Service is mandated to ensure the safety and security of people of Botswana. As espoused in the Botswana Police Act, Chapter 2101, Section 6, the primary duties of the Botswana Police Service includes protection of life and property, prevention and detection of crime, apprehension of offenders, and the bringing of offenders to justice, among others. The Northern Division is located in the northern part of the country with its headquarters in the second city, Francistown. It covers an estimated population of about 786,036 people, according to the 2021 population census. It shares the boundary with North Central Division at Sese Veterinary Cordon Fence. In the south, to the west, it stretches to Talamabele Veterinary Cordon Fence, still in the Northern Central. Northern Division also borders with Northwest Division at Mwasha Veterinary Gate in the Chobe region. Due to the division's geographical location in the north and its proximity to the borderline, it is a gateway to the neighboring countries such as Zimbabwe, Zambia, and the rest of Northern African countries through Zimbabwe. The Northern Division shares the boundary with Zimbabwe in the eastern side. It has 3 border gates that connect Botswana with Zimbabwe. These border gates are Matsiluji, Maitengwe, and Ramukhwebana. The proximity of Botswana-Zimbabwe has triggered issues of cross-border crime in the jurisdiction of this division. Crimes involving children, such as human trafficking and smuggling of persons in and out of the country. The division has 14 police stations and 75 police posts. In addition to this, there is only one child-friendly center in this division, specially established with the objective of creating a child-conducive environment for proper handling of child-related matters. I have the honor to present to you a brief summary of gender-based violence cases as depicted by the table hard. The statistics were recorded in the Northern Division. A compromising number 1 district, le number 15. The station is our Francistown, Likutano, covering other villages there, Greater Francistown. The table depicts a comparison of gender-based offenses recorded per quarter during the year 2023 and 2024. The highest number of cases recorded in all the quarters and years is rape, followed by defilement, assault occasioning actual bodily harm, and threats to kill. In 2023, we recorded a total number of 245 cases in the 3rd quarter. This is attributed to many factors such as misunderstandings between the married and unmarried couples. In 2024, a growth of 244 cases was realized in the 1st quarter as compared to 234 cases recorded in the same quarter of 2023. A total number of 25 GBV murders were recorded in the year 2023 as compared to 13 cases recorded, a total number of 25 GBV murders were recorded in the year 2024 as compared to 13 cases of murder that were recorded in 2023. So, only an increase of 12 cases. Most of these cases are adult intimate partners. Only 2 of those cases recorded in 2024 were those cases of biological fathers killing their children. But otherwise, the cases that involve batu baba momarato. Resonga gape ke di cases tsa defilement tse leng gore bana ba ba kota se ga dingwaga tsa 18 ba dirisiwa bothaswa ba dirisiwa mo dikganyeng tsa tlhakanelo dikobo. That is also a concern in our area. Re itemogela seo ha gongwe re setse re bitswa ke ba di stakeholders ba ba tshwanang le bo nurse gongwe ngwana ile go registerla boimana ko sepatela. They call us to say re na le kganya ngwana ka kwano yo o dirisitsweng bothaswa, and we take it from there. It should be noted that a high number of cases were recorded during the months of August, September and December 2023, as illustrated in table 2, where the offenses were recorded per month. Copy A. Gone go re itemogela gore di case bontsi kana melato bontsi jwa yone ka 2023 e diragatse mo dikgweding tsa August le September le December. Mme ka ngwaga wa 2024 a high number of cases were recorded during the months of January, September and November. In most of these cases recorded, we noticed that the main cause of the misunderstanding was the misunderstandings between couples, which eventually leads to fights. Mo ba tebeng ba helela ba go sugile toka kutisisano mo lapeng ba ba hella balwa. Quite a number of them do cohabit. Therefore, after this conflict arises, we tell the other partner uka nna ka ha ba santse ba loleka tsela e ntseng jalo. Mebile mo go lweng ga bone ba di-partnera tsone tseo re itemogela e le gore bana ba helela ba affectiwa ke tsone di-issue tsone tse ka mabaka a gore dintwa tseo di diragala in the presence of those children. Kore ha go normally hela ha ntwa e simologa ha o ka ke wa phutha bana wa bara re tsamang le kwa re batla go lwa o ka se go phuthi bana ba lotele mo ntung wa re tsamang re batla go lwa ntwa ya simologa gone go bana ba kgarametsiwa ba golelwa mo baneng go thibiwa ka bana. Re itemogela tsone di kgang tsa go nna yalo. The intervention ke gore re tla tswelela, we will continue to address quarter meetings really Botswana Police and other crime prevention forums geared towards addressing gender-based violence. We also have child protection committees. They re kopana le tsone occasionally, re kopana le other stakeholders to come up with strategies to combat gender-based violence. In addition to that, we have a child-friendly center called Francistown, where we attend those victims of gender-based violence. I thank you all.
Botswana Police Service about that GBV situational analysis. Me go na le sengwe se ile gore ke se itemogetse gantsa bua jana ga supa di case tse ile gore ba di recordile mme a ba supa dikgwedi dingwe tse ile gore e tare gantele ga re ntse re tsweletse gongwe re tlhaloganye gore ke eng dikgwedi tsonetse o supile gore ba recorded case tata ka August, September, December ka 2023 and 2024, January, September, November. And then in these both years, September, ke yone kgwedi e leng gore e appeara mo go tsone tsotlhe. Potso ke gore why that specific month? Mo nakong e bagaetsho ke kopa gore re eme ka dinao jaaka re tabe re laletsa our honorable minister Mme Lesego Chombo. The stage is yours.
Thank you. Please be seated. Good morning. Wa itse gore ga gona le sengwe se se teng seng mpige morale is a very cold crowd. We're dealing with sensitive issues indeed, but what's more important is that we're all relaxed, that we're all feeling comfortable to engage. I get it. Yaanong ke kopa gore re tshikinyege, re thanye, so that we can all fully engage. It is indeed a formal setting, but I find that anytime re ntse yana go thata gore be re kgona go bua re phuthulogile. Mme ke tsaya nako e go le leboga lotlhe gore be le tile kwano. Ke tsaya nako e gore ke tsaya gore ga gona dintja. Ga ke a utlwa mo welcoming remarks go bua ka dintja jalo jalo, but also as the representative from the Ministry of Youth and Gender Affairs hosting this event, ke kopa gore le phuthuloge re ipaakanyetse to engage as meaningfully as possible. Let me take this time to recognize the mayor of the city of Francistown, the deputy mayor, honorable councillors, court presidents, the district commissioner, the pastors, senior government officials, stakeholders, media, ke a le lemoga. Mme ebile ke tsaya nako e go lemoga ba e leng gore ke bone ba ba re irelang tiro e on the ground, all CSOs here and present, all organizations, all individuals who have stood to ensure gender equality in our country in any space, whether as a pastor or as a mother, as a sibling, as a brother, as a friend. Both have ensured that we have gender equality. Ke tsaya nako e go le lemoga ebile ke le leboge ke re modimo a nne le lona. Re ka ikopela diatla. Bagaetsho, today is my distinct honor to reflect on the critical topic and discussion, gender equality and the empowerment of women and men in Botswana, with particular focus on all things precious, the city of all things precious, which is Francistown. I must note, as the mayor mentioned, Botswana has made remarkable progress in advancing gender equality and in the empowerment of women specifically as well. Our population is approximately 2.6 million, and nearly half of Botswana's labor force is made up of women. I think that is quite commendable, that our nation stands out with one of the lowest rates of infant and child mortality, with one of the highest life expectancies and the highest gross enrollment of women in tertiary education. Now, while I note that these are beautiful achievements, as we carry on, we'll also see how these achievements adversely contribute to gender inequality in the country. Moreover, in Botswana, we boast the highest annual per capita growth in sub-Sahara Africa. These achievements present a unique opportunity to unlock the full potential of our people and drive sustainable development. And while we boast this growth in sub-Sahara Bagaetsho, adversely we're also considered the country which is one of the most unsafest for women to live. Again, pros and cons, which is what we're here to reflect on. The government of Botswana firmly believes that true progress must always be inclusive and sustainable, and that it should be grounded in gender equity. In gender equity. Quite often we speak about equality, but I always think equity is much, much, much better. Equity really, if we are running a race, let's use this analogy in this room. If we are running a race and someone, I get midway, that's the first person. The second person, maybe the race, it does not make sense for us to give them the same meal. Right? The person behind has a longer journey to go. It does not make sense for us to give them equality. That's what equality says. It says we're giving you the same thing, same opportunities, same access, despite where you're standing. But equity says, let's recognize where everyone is currently. It says, Yomo Francistown, and those can never be equal. And that is the principle of equity. And equity doesn't mean that only women are favored more than men. Sometimes men will get more than women. I get it. But sometimes women will get more than men. Because we look at that which we are hoping to achieve, and we see who needs more in the circumstances. Equity. Botswana has been guided by these principles, and the greatest dedication and commitment of government is to build a society where no one is left behind. And this dedication is also towards human rights. We must always take the human rights approach. And even here, that is an approach that we ought to always enhance and promote and adopt in everything that we do. Now, our dedication to human rights has been evident through us acceding to several critical international and regional agreements. Some of them include the Protocol to the African Charter on the Rights of Women in Africa, the Maputo Protocol, as well as the Convention on the Rights of Persons Living with Disability. This speaks to inclusivity. Renalele, the SADC Protocol on Gender and Development, which is aimed at promoting gender equality and equity across the region, as well as CEDAW, the Convention on the Elimination of All Forms of Discrimination against Women and Men. All of these acknowledge the fundamental rights. Before we are anything, we're human beings. So anytime we speak of human rights, think of it that way. Don't think of it in a technical sense. Of the Constitution, all of which are very important. Technicalities are very important, but more than anything, what's important is that you are human before you are the mayor. I am human before I'm the minister. You are human before you're even a mother. Humanity is something that we ought to embrace and pay reverence to. Now, these commitments that I just spoke on reflect Botswana's proactive stance in creating a just and inclusive society. And furthermore, the national vision of 2036, under the pillar of human and social development, it boldly declares our intent to leave no one behind. And this vision is not merely aspirational. It's not just our hope, but it signifies our responsibility. It signifies our collective mandate to ensure equal participation of women and men into the socio-economic, political, and cultural development, regardless of tribe or ethnic background or social status or religious background, regardless of anything that we choose to associate ourselves with. At the end of the year, when we're commemorating the 16 days of activism, the theme was hashtag no excuse. No excuse against violence. I wish that that could also be included in the way that we deal with each other and the way that we address gender equality. There's absolutely no excuse to not promote equity and equality. Not even religion. Not even culture. Not even personal opinions. None. There's absolutely no reason for anyone to disregard the next person's human rights. Absolutely none. There's nothing that could be more powerful than the respect of human rights. I get it. So we have absolutely no excuse to justify any gender inequality. The recent population and housing census has provided a compelling picture of Botswana's demographic composition. Our population stands at 2.6, as we know, but women account for 51% and men account for 49%. And the youth of Botswana, being 15 to 35 years, make up 34.9% of the population. That is very high. In my constituents, get the largest constituency, Botswana, making 34.9% of the population. And in this youth population, there is almost an equal split, with 50.8% of females and 49.2% of males. And then we have persons living with disabilities comprising of 4.5% of the whole population. There's an alarming rate of 44.4% of households that are female-headed. Is that believable? Based on our perception and our culture and our stereotypes, 44.4% of families or households are female-headed. And this underscores the significant role that women play in family and community life. To say, oftentimes when we speak about gender equality or equity, men say, "You've left us behind." In every space I've been in, they say, you always speak of women, protecting women, empowering women, giving women jobs. And what about us? This is the exact forum for us to dissect such conversations. For us to note that when we speak of women more than men, we say more than, not women only. It's women more than men, because statistics have shown that the victims of gender inequality, those who experience gender inequality more, and gender inequity as well, are women. Mikazana way to also say that we recognize the need to include men. That's what inclusivity is about. Bagaito, kang ya gender. When we speak of gender issues, even when they say the Ministry of Youth and Gender Affairs, we think GBV. I get it. But it's beyond that. Gender issues are beyond violence. Violence forms a part of it. But today, as we all dialogue in this conversation of gender, let's make sure that we deal with all the concerns of gender. This includes access to resources. This includes access to opportunities. This includes access to protection. It speaks to gender biases. It speaks to gender stereotyping. And it also speaks to violence. But if you reflect on all of these things, you will get to see that all of them do contribute to violence. And therefore, the way that we address violence is dealing with each one of them as a way of ensuring that we have a preventative measure. If we deal with our gender stereotypes, if we deal with access to resources, we deal with opportunities, protections, stereotyping, then we have automatically dealt with issues of violence as a way of preventing violence. And this is also to say, as the mayor also mentioned, it's just one person. They're for everyone. They affect us in the workplace, they affect us at church, they affect us in the community, they affect us with regards to our culture, our families, our relationships, our friends. And so as we deal with them, let's be open-minded, including gender-based violence. It doesn't just happen at home. It's not just domestic. We had a youth forum last weekend. One of the young ladies there said, we have to do despicable things to get jobs in this country. Despicable. Which is very hurtful. That in this day and age, where we have women who are educated, equipped, and qualified, they still have to do so much to get a job. So it affects us in the workplace as well. Kgang e nngwe e leng gore re tshwanetse gore re tsene mo go yone e leng gore tota selo se se re wetse ro therisitse ke yone kgang ya kgokgontsho. And with that, I would like us to point out some of the hopes and the plans that we have as the Ministry of Youth and Gender Affairs. The police have already mentioned the statistics, so I will not get into them. We all know someone, somewhere, a friend of a friend, a family member, a neighbor. We've seen people in the news. All of us, I'm sure we know someone who has been a victim or a survivor, one way or the other. We might know them through our work, we might know them personally, but we know how bad the situation is. It's bad. And if you're a woman and you don't live in fear, may God bless you, because I do. Oh, may God bless you for the peace that He has given you, because I live in fear. Bothoko ba go akanya gore motho o tsenetse mo ntlong a na sa itse le gore go ka mo diragala tsatsi leo a bolawa, the thought that it could be me next. Bothoko ba go itse gore violence in our country has moved from being a social issue, and it affects everyone. It's no longer about poverty. I get to think that you could be at your workplace and someone could come and kill you at your workplace. That is the fear that we live in. That is the fear I live in. Do you know that level of fear? It's not a level of fear that we need to be living in. But that's where we are. When you find that just 2 weeks ago, there was a burial where one of the young girls who passed on was the sister to the main victim. She was in the wrong place at the wrong time. Someone went to kill their partner and their partner's child, and that partner's sister happened to be in the house. That's the ripple effect of violence. That sometimes it's not even towards you. We're not collateral. But that goes on to show us how it affects us all. You having not been a victim before or a survivor before doesn't mean that it doesn't affect you. Because it has gotten to a point where people are collateral. Children have become collateral. Parents have become collateral. We've had murders. Even involved in the relationship. That's the extent to which our violence has went. In our deliberations with the Commissioner of Police Corps headquarters, you know what's more painful lately is how the severity of it increases, the gruesomeness of it. 2 women were killed, right? And it's painful. And then there is O thabilwe ga 16. Alternatively, the person who did it traveled all the way to do it. The situation is now grave because it's no longer just violence. It's the extent of it. And that shows the anger that we have as Botswana. It speaks to our mental state as Botswana. And that is a root cause that we need to address. Now, in order to address this, the ministry is prioritizing first and foremost preventative measures. My favorite preventative measure, all of them are my favorite to be honest, but one that I believe speaks to sustainability and speaks to us being forward thinking is integration of gender equality, gender equity in schools and amongst children. Statistics show that majority of the men who are perpetrators of violence currently have been abused in their lifetime. Do we see the link? The speakers mentioned it. No. They watch, they see it. And during a study that was done, we found that majority of the perpetrators have been victims and survivors of violence themselves growing up. And so it's very important for us to shift the narrative more by name. Even at home, it's not just in schools. There's an issue of including it in the curriculum in partnership with the Ministry of Child Welfare and Basic Education. But there's also the issue of parenting. How do we parent? How do we parent? We attended a International Children's Day. There was an event in Zimbabwe and the child president comes to me and she says, you know, there was a lady who was talking about roles and she was telling us that girls have to clean and wash dishes and then the boys were being taught much better things like technology, and I thought that was off. I believe she's 16, very smart young girl. And that is what we teach our children, is it not? We teach girls that their role is to serve, to pour out. And on the other hand, we also teach boys, you don't cry. Never. I get young boys don't have a platform to speak about their feelings. Young boys don't have a platform to be vulnerable. And we ought to start teaching children positive masculinity. You can be masculine and vulnerable. You can be masculine and cry. You can be masculine and talk about your issues and not use them physically. I've noticed Botswana as well, we say women's violence is seen through their words. Men say that women's violence is seen through their words because women are very vocal and they've always been given a space to speak, to cry, and then men's violence is very physical because they don't speak, they don't cry. And so it translates into physical. And both need to be addressed from a very young age. We need to create that culture of respect from a young age. The culture of both of you are human, none is better than the other. From a very young age, I find that when we do this, we have solved it for the future. By the time they're grown, they have different principles. They have a different direction of how to behave with one another. And one of the other things that we need to really prioritize, which is in line with what we just spoke about, for inculcating a culture of gender equality amongst children, is breaking the stereotypes around mental health. Baton. We had the 16 days I asked ne re le ko meeting e be ke botsa gore hankalla gona la go dira yang la go mpepetetsa gore a kere e be la isa tholile minister hela yo ma botsana wa rona yo mo tshwareni yo na letsana yo le bana re ba ira ra go shapa motho go ileng ya lonnana if it's a girl. When women are vulnerable and when women speak, or even right now if I'm to rant and say this and this and this and this happened, it's such a norm. It's okay for women to be vulnerable and for women to be in tune with their emotions and wear their emotions on their sleeves. Let a man cry right now. Mayor. What will we do if the mayor cries right now? Rabore. A whole mayor crying. Uta gore go bua borre ebile ba re rabore ke setete. Go bua borre ba ileng gore le bone ba itse gore go na le dinako tse ba batang go lla. I get it. And it is wrong. Before you are male, you are human. It is wrong. If the mayor was to throw a tantrum right now, oh, he's such an angry man. I get it. If I throw a tantrum, bamirileng never tung. Kore bamirileng never tung ruri ao. Mwana mujimu bathong. Ibile makeup wa gago ao bathong. I get you a tissue, don't ruin your makeup. But if a man is to be vulnerable with his emotions, if a man is to say, I don't feel okay today, I just don't know, I just want to stay in bed, talk. Other men are out there working. There's a trend on social media where girls say, men literally in the olden days and in the Bible and the way that we see it from back then, whatever that means. I get princess. This is what young people say. They say you're asking for 50-50, me to contribute. Wild. You go work. The pressures that we put on men. That's what they say. I get. We expect them to be these supernatural beings. They have to provide, to protect, and to do many other things, and do them also well, and never at any point be vulnerable. Never be tired. Never cry. Never fail. I get it. Ever. And these are stereotypes that we need to change and recognize that no matter who you are, your mind gets affected. At any point, even my mind gets affected. My tears are very close. As a human being, I cry. Okay? If somebody says something that is very sensitive today, I might shed a tear. That's who I am. And so the sooner we embrace that, whether you're at work, you're at home, you're a man, you're a woman, you're in a professional capacity, you're not, great, there are societal standards. But our emotions are things that we cannot part away from. They are. And so let's give men room to be human and to feel, so that they can be comfortable to address their issues. But speaking about that, I was very triggered by the men who said what they said. But I'm glad they did. Because as women, we know how to show up for other women. I know how to encourage young girls. Are you the 21-year-old counselor? Lovely to meet you. Now, I would know how to guide her through it. I get it because I've experienced it. I'm young. I know what it's like to navigate such a space as a young person. What I desire to see is men who do the same for other men. When we speak of mental health, I want to see it championed by men. Fully. Fully. I don't want to think another man could say, I think you as men know better. We think we know as women. We see it from the outside, but you know better. And so when we speak about mental health issues and changing stereotypes, I would love to see it being led by men. Now this speaks to women, is women's economic empowerment. Just yesterday we were attending Opikwe training program, Ibiza Entrepreneur, which is aimed at helping women start their businesses, grow their businesses, expand their businesses, because we do know that women are economically disempowered, and we also know that that has greatly contributed to gender-based violence. That we don't know about and so it's very important that we address this from the root cause by ensuring that there is no reason for you to stay in a space that is harmful to you. Again, men say, I get it. And I'm saying that you are not excluded at all, because issues of economic empowerment also affect men in the sense that men are expected to be providers. And you find that sometimes in abusive situations, it's not just that a woman is staying because the man is the provider. Sometimes a woman is being abused because she is the provider. And so as we navigate through these issues and get ready to converse, let us all think about that. There is also an issue of mainstreaming as a preventative measure, where everyone in every space, in government, all ministries, all sectors, private sector, in our homes, in our communities, in all our lives and all our capacities, we really take up this responsibility upon ourselves to promote gender equity. At all levels. Because everyone does contribute. For us to be able to create a culture, and a mindset. So for us to twist and reinvent and change that culture and that mindset, it requires that all of us take up this responsibility of gender equity and inclusivity and respect of other human beings at every level, in every sector. And when we speak of responses that the ministry is aiming to implement, I am so obsessed with the idea of the child-friendly police center. I think it's very important for us to always create an environment that is comfortable for our victims and survivors to feel like it's okay. Basena any fear, basena any discouragement. And I'm so proud of the work that is being done by justice system as well, to ensure that even when they're testifying in court, is a safe space. It is truly remarkable what is currently being done. Truly remarkable what the police is doing with the child-friendly station. So let me take this time to applaud you and say that we need more responses like that, where we say we are working towards preventing it. But in the instance that it has happened, we don't want anyone to shy away from going to report, because we have created a system that makes you comfortable enough to come forth that you may receive the help that you need. And that also speaks to the formulation of a one-stop shop, where we would love, as a victim, a survivor, you go to this one place and you find everyone you need. You find your police, you find your counselor or psychotherapist, you find someone from the shelter, you find the justice system ready to assist you. You find everything you need in one place. Wouldn't that be wonderful? Right? It is such a wonderful initiative, and I believe that once this is rolled out across the country, it will also assist our victims to feel like go na le ko ba ka ikuelang teng. Mme ba ikuela teng go sena dikgoreletsi dipe. There's also an online referral center. It was piloted a few years ago, and we are looking forward to implementing it, as well as the implementation of already existing acts. Sexual offenders registry. And our role at the ministry is to ensure that all the measures put in place to curb, to prevent, and to respond to violence are being fully implemented. And this is a conversation that we've had 2 weeks ago at the Interministerial Committee on Gender-Based Violence, where we're holding every ministry accountable to say these are the measures that have been put in place, and we expect full implementation, full and effective implementation of all of them. But more than implementing the already existing laws, we are working towards the formulation of a Gender-Based Violence Act. What are the loopholes in the already existing laws? What is it that we need to enhance, and ensuring that we encompass all of that in this act? It will be all-inclusive of everything that needs to be addressed, everything that needs to be responded to in terms of the criminal side, in terms of the social aspects, to ensure what I had to talk about Penal Code, Domestic Violence Act. Yeah, Domestic Violence Act they shot that recent Penal Code because it's more punitive. Yeah, Bill Act the really. We have a lot of laws right now, all of which are being seen to have a few loopholes that are impeding implementation. And so this Gender-Based Violence Act will bridge that gap. I am also very proud of the training of gender-based violence responders. In the spirit of creating a safe space for our victims and survivors, we want them to be responded to. I know last month, graduation at the police, where the police were being trained on how to be gender sensitive and violence sensitive when dealing with GBV cases. And these are some of the programs that we intend to ensure that are rolled out in any space that has a responder. And one important one is gender sensitive budgeting. VP, I hope you're listening. Gender sensitive budgeting, where we would like the Ministry of Finance, where we would like every ministry to be aware that when we speak of mainstreaming, they have a role to play. And this role will require resources. Resources that the gender department alone cannot bear. But as we roll out this mainstreaming strategy, we would like to know that everyone is gender sensitive in their budgeting. We currently have what we call line officers. Bailongwari have been there for youth issues. Officers placed in different ministries, and the goal is for them to tackle all youth issues in that ministry. So if a young person says, I need help, go trade, the line officer is responsible for that. But we are currently working towards having them as youth and gender, so they can ensure that our mainstreaming strategy is fully implemented in every ministry. This is how serious we are about tackling violence. This is how serious we are about inclusivity. Inclusivity also means, as we said, access to resources. Means that we need to be cognizant of those who don't have the access that we have. Those who can't watch this stream, those who don't have Facebook, those who don't have network. Those who live in settlements. We need to be fully inclusive. And with that being said, I would have just loved to lay that foundation to also guide all of the stakeholders who are here in our discussions moving forward. The goal for today is not for us to reflect on the issue that we have. It is very common, but it is for us to come up with viable solutions. Are in touch with the communities. They know it better. They know better what happens every day. One-stop shopping, but police station. So these are the issues that I'd like us to ponder on. I am very, very open to solutions from any space that you operate in. Government, non-government, CSO, as a parent, as a sibling, it affects us all. And I truly believe that if we all apply ourselves to tackle this issue, if we all bring our different perspectives. As I close, let me show you something about perspective, all right? Because every time I speak about it, sometimes I just wish it could be understood more. There's this podium. All of us see it differently. Do you know that? It's the same podium. Do you know what I see? I see my iPad. I see 2 mics. I see my paper. I see this mic. Somebody from this end, I get someone from that end, I don't even see the side because I'm on top of it. That's the thing about perspective. It's the same thing. Now imagine if we left it to one person. If we left it to the mayor alone, we have not covered all ground at all because he sees it from one angle. And this sight from one angle is based on how he was raised. It's based on the fact that he's wearing shades. It might not even look white to him for all we know. Does it look white, sir? With your shades on? Right? It doesn't look white because he's wearing shades. On the other hand, they see something else. I see something else. Some of us are short-sighted. Some of us are long-sighted. So perception and perspective is very important, hence we speak about collaboration. So as I speak on urging everyone to collaborate with us, that's what I'm speaking from, because we can never see it from the same angle. But if we all apply ourselves, then we have fully and holistically tackled the issue. May we please all apply ourselves authentically from the standpoint that we're all at. I look forward to engaging with all of you, and I thank you very much for your attention. God bless you.
Thank you very much. You may be seated. Honorable Minister, at this point, Molaudi, Mayor Mamatsika, to join the Honorable Minister on stage. Halala bo me halala. Ga ke batle gore halala bo re halala, ke batla gore halala bo re halala. Audience ya rona. Halala bo re halala. I appreciate that we are getting the sensitive. Me happy, Robata happy, Reditana Gamashe, Galeboha. At this point, Honorable Minister Talusa, the goal for today is to come up with viable solutions towards addressing GBV issues. About Talusa, it's key for us to bring these solutions as different stakeholders, because redibona ka ditsela tse di farologaneng. Jaanong mo nakong e bagaetso ke tabe ke na le Honorable Minister on stage, and then ke na le molaodi wa rona e be ke nna le mme Matsidiso gore ba te ba re etelle pele mo puisanong ya rona, mme dikgang di ka go lona ka ko gore jaanong jaaka re le different stakeholders, how are we addressing these issues? Thank you very much. Ke na le my colleague o e leng gore o taba tshotse maiki re tabo re supile jalo ka go tsholetsa letsogo la gago o bo tlhalosa gore o tswa ko lephateng lefe o bo bua leina la gago e be re ka tswelela. Ke a leboga. We have the first hand over there.
Thank you very much. Well, first of all, let me thank you for the opportunity. My name is Carol Butiludek. I am the founder and the chairperson of the New Somerset Society. Even the additional member of the men's sector. Tswana Skwa Sisia Tsonga Venda. Thank you. My question is recognition. Us in Francistown, we recognize the relevant and the organizations. The organizations, they are Francistown, they are based in Gaborone, ebe bataka di branch, bataku Francistown, mudi implementation. According to my statistics, for the societies in Francistown to be visible, we have to lean by the stakeholders, being NAPA, men's sector, even the Minister of Fraternal. To tell the truth, why they are elapsing is because of lack of funding. I remember meeting Muluti, Honorable Winter Bikuso Muluti, I see the minister, and Mr. Ludik, Tirowi Dirangi Tata. Ibile so sidirang on Samadimu Patengyaha. Tuero equal Hotimu. Me, Lodimu Alice in place. Yeah, bless you. I want to smile to the bank like all the organizations are doing. Honorable Minister, Raleigh Lamo Francistown, Retuse Mungami, Retuse Tuna. Facilitate the organizations to Sedimo Francistown. That's my pledge. The second one is statistics of GBV shows that a lot of GBV and substance abuse are not highly on offices. Rona, the organizations, Kirona Parsafaran Tata, because we are always working on the field. We see a lot of issues, multi-drinking spots and the meeting places. The perpetrators are invisible men. There are invisible. Some of them, they don't have social media like you were saying, the minister. Kuri, kibana hela kahuri. Bana lady Jimmy Tabuna. Mulaita hawisu utseni mukubone. Tota our outreach related organization. Rahotena jang. give what belongs to Caesar. So that we need fans. Re tokana le madi gore ha ile gore banna tia ya ka ke le monna tia ke ba etele. Ke tshwantse gore ha ile gore da in the drinking spot. Le nna ke te ka shelenyana ke re banna tia a re neng hale ro re mollo wa bagolo to interact with them. Ke a leboga motsamaisi teng.
Ra leboga re logic. Gongwe ke supejana jaaka na simolotse gore this is how we are going to run with our program, which is going to take 1 hour 30 minutes. The problem, and also offer the solution.
And I wanted also to add on what you said. Can we, in giving feedback, talk to the thematic areas in which the minister has alluded to, looking and being brief in our responses, giving others chances to basically contribute equally, just is to highlight the intent of the meeting. Thank you very much.
Dumela Minister and protocol observed. Kita agak teman-teman naik ke sergi flu. Video novaten hari. Kita berada untuk tome. Kita assistant district coordinator. Let me thank you for the presentation over here. Miki super hore. Kita gender-based violence is an issue when I think facing on people. Those who were here some time before, you will remember back in 2008, the former president formulated a task force and it came up with the recommendation. I think there are around 34. Related social institution, labor development. Strategy. Say no more. It was supposed to simply say implement about different ministries and different organizations and structures. It's very critical as that one. Structures they need to come out with programs. Say no more. Because Harisa similar what does it basically Bohosi is a spectator. Ravadita regularly program serve Gotawam Ravat. We expect to have a very limited family go Shanti. Tagayo. Let's visit that strategy for a salary. Because in a Sigaka become monetary evaluation across all the ministries and different stakeholders, including what is carried. We need to recover the response to GBV. As different stakeholders, there are different policies and different laws. So not about GBV, it's about neglect our side, kind of spouses. There is a need to review. I read the review, we should also be sensitive to our culture. Because right now, we can look at Harry Diri, Baba Mogarba, Hava respond Mogoto. Kiveki Hetaka Hori, you know, with the social service workforce. The social psychologist. On the ground, high matching the international standard. In 2020, Ministry of Local Government Development by then, in our tissue again itself, for the assessor for the social service workforce, it can come vis-a-vis the population, limiting the daily platform. Let's look into that so that we strengthen our response.
Thank you very much. ke tsweledise go ke go botse gape potso mme la o ka se ke ya arabe ka arabiwa ke o mongwe mo flow jaaka o no tlhalosa gore ka kgang ya bogosi gore gongwe go simolole ko tlase kwa ke kopa gore ke botse gore in this case how then do we involve the community in terms of tsone dikgang tse jaaka o no tlhalosa ka ke tsela gore kgosi ya ka a le ko motseng kana a le mo community ga a bereke a le nosi. How do we start now including the grassroots, everyone at grassroots level? Ke kopa gore le tsweledise le tele ya arabe. Ke kopa le nthuse le ne le ntse le move mic.
Thank you. My name is Mark Batisani from Trust for Community Initiatives, well known as Botswana Homeless and Poor People's Federation. Firstly, let me thank you, Minister. Congratulations for being the youngest in the Sub-Sahara, if not Africa. You mentioned a lot of things which are very quite great, and the interventions that you came with. But I want to also to emphasize to say that as much as we talk about people that are, or individuals that are open to violence or have experienced violence, being the same people that are going to exhibit traits of violence into their partners. I just also want to say that mainly I would put it to individual choices, because there are some people that they grew under violence, but they are not as violent. So individual choices is one of the key factors that we need to look into. And that is where now I say we need to look into education, and we need to look into community empowerment, community engagements, quota meetings. Like my sister is asking a question, how do we engage the grassroots? We are working with the grassroots, so engagement and a lot of it. It's never enough to engage. We need to keep on engaging and engaging and engaging with communities. And then also I just want to say that like I said, interventions of education to break that cycle that we talked about, it's very key. And also let me just say that it is also imperative to work collaboratively, to have collaborative efforts combining cultural change, economic empowerment, effective legislation and education. This can society brings hope into our societies if we bring our efforts together and we don't work as individuals. We are organizations, we are here, and if we team up and we work towards improving our country, then we're going to have a winner. But if we stand individually, then we are not going to work, we're not going to achieve what we want to achieve. Thank you.
Ra leboga ke kopa gore o mphele motho wa mme o bonela monana ga ntseng teng ke raka gore se se re hile borre ba le bararo e se ka lepehela.
Honorable Minister and Botona Bote and everyone who is here. I'm Oleboge Mudisenyana from Donga Clinic. I'm also a GBV advocate and an activist. Well, now, when I was still working in Gaborone, I was trained on International Child Development Program. But this initiative, or should I say this program, it was concerned about children, equality, those who are involved in alcohol and drug abuse in schools and in the community. And it was an initiative that was working very well. But when I came to Francistown, I wished to see such a program continue, only to find that most of the people that were trained were in Gaborone. So my plea is, maybe the program can continue here. Maybe the program can continue here. And with GBV, as health practitioners, we are one of the people who see it first in the clinics. But then maybe we treat the assaults, but then emotionally, they don't get that kind of help, and we end up seeing these people suffering. So if we could train more health practitioners, it would be great. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Could you please share the name of the program that you speak of? Thank you.
International Child Development Program, ICDP.
Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. Morning. I believe protocol has been observed. I am from the Office of the Ombudsman, who is also the Human Rights Commissioner of Botswana. I am the gender-focal person where I'm from. Janong, I want to comment on what the minister said and perhaps have a different perspective. Gender, as you know, is evolving. The notion of what it means to be a real woman, a real man, is evolving today as what it used to be. In my opinion, perhaps the reason why we're experiencing gender-based violence in Sijana is because some of us are having difficulties catching up to where the world is regarding the role of a woman, the role of a man in society. The minister mentioned that there will be an overview of it exists relating to gender. Because gender is evolving, she did mention we need to change the view that we have who is a real man. I wanted us to be aware the role of a real man and the patriarchal expectation of what a real man should do or should not do. That idea because a man is expected to provide, the woman has been historically expected to be the child caregiver. Because we want to change that, we want a society where both the father and the mother share the role of child care equally in such a way that we can model positive masculinity or femininity to our children. We also need to care for both the Affiliations Proceedings Act, they are reviewed so that we share. We cannot say expect you to provide because now women work as well. Providing again. My partner then I should take care of the children on my own. But the provider on his own so these are the things that are evolving, and we need to be able to be more receptive rather of how the world or how things are working in today's situation. And also, the minister, we have to have a human rights approach to tackling this issue of GBV, which I think is very important because before you are a man or a woman, you are a person. We need to bring back the reality of what it means being a woman, the choices to your body, the choices that you do, whether or not you want to be a mother, and so on and so forth. Minister, it not only starts and ends at men and women, biological men and women, but also affects the LGBTQI. If we're going to take a human rights approach, what measures have been, or what measures are in place to ensure that LGBTQI individuals who have GBV issues, the programs they exist, or the facilities they exist, how will they be tailored to meet the specific needs of the queer community? Thank you.
Thank you very much. Adding to that, the question of who is the real man. ka gore re na le ba dikereke ha ke ta go gore le lona le la khela re na le kgang gape re na le bo molaodi re na le kgang ya gore the man is the head of the family ke kopa gore gongwe re itse gore in this fourth industrial revolution mo gompieno how is that being interpreted and how is that contributing or not contributing towards GBV issues. Thank you.
Madam, protocol observed. Ibidua Pastor Thadon Shakajogwe, a founder of Crown of Grace Trust and also a member of Ministers Fraternal. The first one, GBV most of the times, especially Gobasadi, we tell about provision and accommodation. You find that a young lady is stuck with an abuser only because he is the provider. But my request to the Honorable Minister is, if as a ministry we can have days, we have a workshop like this, but as empowerment or teaching them. Because they are willing to work, but Havana Majuana who do 1.5 hour training. So if we can train them, they can be independent and stand for themselves. Then culture is dynamic. Do the changes the stay home dads and Mosadi Elena America. But Rona or Yakola being what do you call it? When you have gone through GBV or the Mosadi, then you go home or restructure. But you find that Batali Barona whenever it's over no, Mkazu no longer, Mosadi wa bezwa hora arete and all that. Then when you get home or you want to with her the boy what are we doing? Le batsadi ba rona ke gore re tswele kwa ntse ko magaeng kwa ba kgone go tlhaloganya gore ngwana o kgona go bua kwa lapeng gore a kgone go ipaakanya le mo dikerekeng. Pastors, let's leave the pulpit. Re tsene mo bo Sunday soccer re utlwe gore go diragala eng. Re tsene mo makeišeneng re bone gore go diragala eng. We can't just say pastors are for church and ba ba konte ba ta ipona. So let's do something about it.
Ke kopa le nthuse re tshware nako ka maiki re tsamaye re isa ka hale ka ha. I see more hands.
Dumela nna ke bitswa Lwadi Masilo ke tswa ko Bonela. Bonela is a human rights organization. So nna tota ke bereka le community. Batho go bereka le community in issues tsa GBV what harder when you talk about implementation. So I've worked for 7 years for Bonela in terms of issues of gender-based violence. So but one of issue we should develop a technology-driven response. We should leverage technology, understand technology. We can be able to report these issues anonymously. Because community in terms of reported cases, issues like gender-based violence, money barring, why do you see what as we can see, what the statistics that are development, read the issues on the officer, did they more discussing because people, our community is willing to respond or report those cases. But then what can we do? Let's develop technology and then start. Our community can anonymously report perpetrators and also those mobile applications and all these things. And resources that can be provided immediately to those victims. By mme motho o letsa ka kganya gore kana ka kgabeta lebakana o ipwa ke motho gone o ebe le gore go tsaya lebaka gore a kgone go thusiwa mme e le gore ga e le gore go na le yone resources that are going to be provided immediately to those victims ko ne issue no go tota ne ba ka gore technology a ine teng sa re no gore ya kgona go thusa our community. And also our second point, like what are community-led initiatives that in the we can create public forums, we can create workshops, regarding the support group. We have survivors in our community that they've survived gender-based violence. Let's use these people, but more community, but they face those issues. Get gender-based violence, so I think that I am.
Thank you.
Dumelang motsadi.
Dumelang marona.
Ke bona o ka re batho ba dumedisitswe botlhe ka ditiro tsa bone. Jaanong nna ne ke re ke lathele karologonyana ka mabone a agenda violence ka gore ke bona o ka re ntse re talentswe ka le lengwe nako le nako. Re bitsa ba e leng gore ga gongwe o ithela o ka re ba na le tlhaloganyo yone eo ya gore re se ka ra kgokgontshana. Re sia ba e leng gore ke ba ba kgokgontshang le go hita selekano. Ke gore ga re ka lebelela batho bone ba kgokgontshiwang ke bana ba banyenyane. Bana ba banyenyane ba motho ha a tsoga hela mo dikubong wa ba re ke bone mosadi a sena madi a go monyala a sena eng. Go tsweng ga o palelwa ke kgone go rekela ene ngwana dijo, ga seno nna a palelwa yana a re bo ngwanake ba ga bone ngwana le bone ba re batadi tsa rona go na le gore o re ke bana ba gago. Bo ithela o ka re bana ba le ba babedi ba lwelwa. Yo mongwe ene a ba re a tswa re ko tsenya reng a ise a ikakanya. Be go to go na le tekatekano 50-50 be ita nna mathata. Ngwanyana yo lo dule ko ga bone a ba ithaganelela go ya ko ga bo mosimane. A ba o nna mosadi yo nyetswe. Go nna mosadi yo nyetsweng ka kwa ha goroga mo ntlong ya ga rre yone o simolola go kgokgontsha rre yone. Borre ke ba otola botlhoko ka gore ga ba kgone go bua. O taba a tsaya setena hela ngata mme o le a sa bue gore ke mo ngatele eng kante rre wa modimo sa le a tsaya mosadi a tsenya mo ntlong. Ga ba kopane le dikobo mme a re ke na le ditshwanelo le ene. Ke lapile kana ke thotse ko terong wena o gogobetse mo kae. Monna yole o taba a simolola a hupela ha lele wa hupela o tshaba go bolela le ba ga bona gore re lwela le mme o re ne re nyalana maloba re utlwana. Kante ba lwela dikobo mme a re nna ke tswa ko terong wena o thotse mo gae ke lapile. Kante mme yole o tshwantse gore goromente le ene a akanyetse gore ga go twe tekatekano jaana ga go twe gore o ka lata motho o mo laola go jarateng ya ga bone mo go iteletseng. Ga ke reye gore bana ba rona le seka la kgona go baya melao mo metseng. Mme rona ke under Botswana Dingaka Association ke bona dilo tse di ganang go hela gore mme o taba a sa kopane le dikobo le rrabo ka kwa a na le yo mongwe ka ko thoko yo le ile wa phalitše yena wa bona gore yo o salang a thatswa mo motseng. Monna wo mma mo go kgothatswetseng go the sengwe le sengwe. Ke bone ngwana yo mongwe a ntse a rwele di-stay free a o lata e le ngwana wa mosimane a na le mosadi mo motseng ga go a siama Go tsweng ha monna yo le o tsengwa ke phiho e sa siamang ya dilo tseno. Monna ha a tshwanela go bona dilo tseno. Ke sephiri sa gago wena o le mosadi. O tshwanetse go di hita. Gape nne ke kopa gore goromente a tswele ko ntle ko dikgoteng a se ka nna a ruta bone ba ba leng ga ke ba ba rutegileng. O re ke tsa halelehale. Ba ba leng ga ba bangwe ba a bona ba bangwe ba a tlhaloganya. Ba ba ko gae ke bone ba ba rupelang. A re tsweleng ko dikgoteng ro ruta ba ba tholang ko metseng kwa ba ba sa boneng. Thank you.
Ke a leboga mma rona mo nakong e a kere ke discussion both sides mo nakong e ke ta phosa e be ke taka kwano ke busetsa go go honorable minister le bana le bone gore gongwe ba arabe ha ile gore go na le dipotso teng e be re boa gape re boela ka go golong.
Okay, thank you so much Motsamaisi Tiro. Botsadi ke a dumedisa ke bidiwa Matshediso Thathala ke bereka ke le Chief Gender Officer mo lephateng la merero ya bong Gender Affairs Department mo Ministry ya Youth and Gender Affairs. Ke tla ama dipotso tse e leng gore di ntse di bodiwa e be ke ka neela Honorable Minister le Machombo gore le ene a di tsibogele. Ba ke simolla ka ya ga nne mogolo yona bua ka kgang ya gore go botlhokwa tota gore re bue le bone ba e leng gore ba kgokgontsha re gangwe le gape re na le go bua le ba e leng gore ba kgokgontshiwa mme hela mme ke gore ke re government wa Botswana through Botswana prisons ba na le lenaneo hela le tlhapileng le leng gore le tiile le bidiwang perpetrators rehabilitation program. I believe lenaneo le launchitswe ka 2019 if I'm correct. Ke gona ha e leng gore government o lemogile gore go botlhokwa tota gore le bona ba e leng gore ke badiri ba ditiro tse di bosula tse tsa kgokgontsho mme ebile ka tswa ebile e le kgokgontsho e leng gore go hitlheletse le gore motho o latlhegetswe ke botshelo le bona ba tlhoka thuso eno ya go sedilwa ditlhaloganyo tsa bone tsa go ruta di-life skills kana coping mechanisms tse e leng gore di ka ba thusa go boela gape mo setšhabeng ka ha ba boela mo setšhabeng. Mme gape le rona re le ba Gender Affairs Department mo ministry wa ga Mme Machombo re tshwaragane thata le makala na ikemetseng ka nosi kana bone the civil society organizations ba e leng gore tiro ya bone e ka tswa e lebagane le one kgang yone ya perpetrator rehabilitation and reintegration. Re na le lekala le bitswa biro le e leng gore le tlhamilwe ke borre ba e leng gore they were offenders themselves and they stood up and realized gore go botlhokwa gore ha motho a tswa ko kgolegelong a boela ko bathong a releasiwa a kgone go ithuta gore sena se dirile se se mo isitseng ko kgolegelong ga sa siama and therefore they have to rebuild themselves. So go na le mananeo hela mme a leng gore a teng a lebaganeng le di-perpetrator rehabilitation and reintegration. O buile gape ka kgang ya gore bomme ke bone ba e leng gore ba kgokgontsha thata tota ebile ba kgokgontsha mo re go bitsang emotional violence ka mahoko ba kgoba borre ka mahoko e be o hela le gore re yaanong yana o retaliata ka lentswe yaka no bua mme ke bua hela gore re ne ra dira dipatlisiso ka ngwaga wa 2018 di le under the Botswana National Relationship Study, which found that in this very district that we're in right now, we are northeast, the city of Francistown, 35% of women in this district at that time of the study were found to be mo malapeng a bone, which is quite a high number. So ya ka o bua mme tota go botlhokwa gore re tswelle go dirisa tsone dikgotla ya ka no bua mme ga ke go tshepisa gore ra ya ko makgotleng ra ya magosi ya ka ba bona ba phuthagane ga le rona ke batho ba e leng gore ba re ka thata le bona re le Ministry wa Youth and Gender Affairs le ba Gender Affairs Department le makala la mo hela ikemetseng ka nosi le bodiredi jo bo tshwanang le ba ko Ministry of Health, Botswana Police Service le bo district social welfare officers le bone ke batho ba e leng gore re dirisa kgotla le bone go re thuntsha batswana ka dikgetse tsa gender based violence. Mme mma ke hetelle ko go ye nngwe e ne re a bua ka gore go botlhokwa gore re nne le di-service tse e leng gore di tsepame ebile ba immediate, talking about issues of when a perpetrator or an issue of violence is occurring and then it takes a very long time for our first responders to respond. Give my service delivery on our part as government across hela all stakeholders who are responsible for gender-based violence first response, being Mapodisi, being Wenese, good health facilities, being our judicial system. Respond as fast or as efficiently as we should. And we all know there are challenges still as government we face in terms of having resources in the appropriate measure, in the right place. It's only respond very efficiently. But let me assure you that in last couple of weeks, in the past 2 weeks, the Honorable Minister did call the Interministerial Committee on Gender-Based Violence, which is a committee of 8 key stakeholders led by ministers, Minister of Youth and Gender Affairs, Anali Minister of Justice and Correctional Services, Minister of Social Protection, Child Welfare and Basic Education, Minister of Health, and other ministers. You can just get online and check the composition of the IMC. Or the representatives where the ministers were not able to be with us on that day. But like an action plan which has a very key and very immediate plan they plan to execute in the next 200 days. I think I'll allow my minister to elaborate further on that one. It's going to make sure that we look at all the issues. They are a bit of an impediment right now. Speed our response and efficacy to issues of gender-based violence in the country. Another issue that came up was request for empowerment of women as a key and quick measure to curb stuck in a relationship, stuck in a big city like Gaborone, stuck as a tiro, as a guy, or a woman married and she's stuck in a relationship because she has no resources for herself. That was a very, very, I think, very innovative and very critical suggestion, intervention that I think the minister will also take into consideration when she responds to you. I think it's very something that we can really think about and plan to do. The whole Nale, a very sensitive topic, the LGBTQI community. What are the measures that we're taking as government to ensure that this community has access to services? Because when they present GBV and at a facility, the services are not aligned to cater for their needs. I think that's how you said it. Was that how you said it? Did I get it correctly? Yes? Just give me a thumbs up if I did. More or less. I think that's where you were. But I think we had that that pronunciation yamalao ole wa ha this community the right ya gore ba the rights tsa bone. And as we heard the minister in her speech this morning, she spoke about how this government is very much on the side of ensuring that the human rights of all are upheld. And we as government of Botswana have always programmed from a human rights-centered approach to a point that even before that breakthrough legislature, we have had government agencies like the former NACA, now NAPA, who have worked very closely with development partners like USAID, UNAIDS, programming specifically for LGBTQI. That's why we have very progressive organizations like Bobwanela on the ground right now, who have always been working in this area and in this space. And I believe that as we go forward as a country, as a community, and deliberate further on this issue, I strongly believe that we need to really interrogate so that each and every one and unpack it and come to a point where people can understand we are different in the way we are constituted. We'll come to a point where even in terms of how we provide services in our facilities as a country may or may not go in the direction we would have agreed upon. But in essence, I think it's a conversation that still needs a lot of discussion in this country, and it needs for Ministry Honorable Member Chombo to also interrogate on further. At this point in time, we really need to have those discussions to see how do we provide services for people who identify differently, and how do we go forward as a country in ensuring that we uphold the human rights and respect their choices. A program at Donga Clinic. I think that you found when you got to the district level a good program that was being which had been introduced go the national level being had not yet rolled out to the district. I think those are conversations that need to be had internally with the ministry that was running that program. And of course, since we rolled it Member Chombo, Honorable Chombo, we will also look into it, Minister, what was this program, and see how we can adopt and adapt it for our programming as well. Because it was a very good program that was working. So Minister will ask our department to immediately look into, so that we can get those best lessons and adapt them to how we program. There was also the task force in 2008. He spoke, there were some very good interventions that came out from a strategy that was developed in the multi-sectoral. And one of the key highlights for him was very key in responding to social issues. And I believe that's one of the lessons we learned from that strategy, because 2013 we also started working with Mahosi on issues of mainstreaming gender into customary justice, into the customary justice system. And it's a program that we've been running throughout the country. Over the years, since 2013, we've had the National Gender Pizzo over the years, and right now currently we have two courses from Kosi sitting in our National Gender Commission, re na le re Francistown wa kwa Tishia, re na le me Khosi Moremi, sitting in our National Gender Commission. So Mahosi is a very important institution for bringing forward or taking forward issues of gender and development, particularly responding to issues of gender-based violence. And I believe even last week, our Gender Commission, led by the very capable member Joy Pumape, who's our chairperson, also had an engagement and an opportunity to address Mkwadu Kosi on issues of gender-based violence and issues of gender and development. Minister gender responsive budgeting as a key or 10 key for gender mainstreaming in our country. And then I think the first one, Minister, was reaching out to populations of men. There are a lot of men who remain not sensitized to issues of gender and development. And he's from the New Somerset Society. I really like that name, Minister. By position as Somerset. So I think I know this one you really want to talk to, because it's something coming from a personal space, as you always say. You want to see Batoba forward and talking and embracing issues. So get Minister, as well as allow you to also elaborate further on the issues that I covered. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you all for the questions, the suggestions. I am very happy to have seen things from the various perspectives. I will start with Re Ludik, who spoke to how the Francistown organizations haven't really been recognized, and that for them to be visible, they've had to highly lean on more recognized organizations like NAPA and Men's Sector. I personally know what it's like to be passionate about something. I know what it's like to run an NGO from your pocket. I know what it's like to be lacking support for issues that you see are prevalent and need to be addressed, and what it's like to personally really work towards your calling and your purpose. Mehala, at the end of the day, these things do need resources, and I can confidently say that it is a priority. It's a priority. I think government has also really shown commitment to gender issues by having increased the budget, and even moving forward, gender sensitive budget, we want to in terms of implementation, but we should also raise in terms of budgeting and how resources are allocated. And so that is something that I have noted, and as we go back to deliberate, we will look into it, because I do agree that you do need funding. Yeah, when I was delivering my remarks, on the ground, and there's nothing more important than that, than and so on and so forth. And so we take that responsibility very well to ensure that despite saying telling are a priority in our country. Who spoke about how gender-based violence doesn't start today, and the various strategies that have been employed previously. You spoke about it in 2008, task force and strategy, and you also suggested that we include Bukhosi, but I would like to acknowledge that many things that were said from our end have been implemented, but it speaks to the fact that there's still more we need to do. Re-engage Bukhosi, and we should do more community engagements. I think you are highlighting that even we are doing it, there's more that needs to be done. have heard you. Magosi a re berekang le one even from Gaborone le bone ba taetsa morago gore re bone gore where exactly are we lacking in terms of our implementation. Gore ke ra gore resources aside, there's still more we can do when we speak about community engagements. You also spoke about the 2020 partnership between local government and UNICEF. Elongore was to strengthen some of the work that is being done. I will also go look at that strategy and see how well it can be implemented. I've come to notice that some of these things have already been strategized. It's up to us to see how we make sure it aligns with the needs of Umpieno and to ensure that they are being implemented. That we're not just making policies, we're not just meeting and talking, but that we are action-based. So I have noted all of those strategies that you mentioned, and I'll make sure to have a look at them, as I have not yet. The third one was Red Charles Batisani, who spoke about promoting good individual choices through community engagement and education, because despite many people's upbringing and despite what society is, everyone has a choice to make. And I could not agree more with you, sir. Individual choices are everything, but individual choices, that's why we speak about how we can all participate as professionals, but we can also participate as individuals in the way that we relate with one another. And Ray Charles, we need to promote good choices, and that speaks to education. This is why we speak about even teaching Bana on good choices, teaching Bana on gender equity from a young age, as well as doing more of our engagements, more community. It also ties into what our elder was speaking on. But let's ensure that we are inclusive in our approach. You also spoke about working collaboratively and as individuals. I am glad it's coming from someone other than myself, and I'm grateful for that input. The fourth one, Inele Meolebogengwa Donga Clinic. You spoke about the International Child Development Program. It's something that I will also look into. It truly aligns with our desire to mainstream and our desire to have a multisectoral approach. And one of them is the Ministry of Child Welfare and Basic Education. These are conversations that we're constantly having. Le Honorable Mokoka Kafela, Ministry of Youth and Gender truly aligns with the work that she does, because in order for us to change the narrative and change the status quo, and so I do agree with you that that program must be rolled out. I commit to going to look more into it and engaging with the minister as well, and seeing how we can better align it to today's needs and continue rolling it out. Thank you for pointing it out. You also spoke about training health workers on how to offer emotional support over offering physical health support. Sensitive training. It's not just being sensitive to gender. When we say GBV sensitive training, it's not just being sensitive to gender, but it's also being sensitive to people's emotions. But I think what I would love more in partnership with the Ministry of Health, you are a priority of mental health, priority of having psychosocial support when our victims and our survivors are being treated. It also someone should also be there to ensure that in the way that you're treating them, even though you are trained. So I do agree as we deliberate, gather interministerial committee to ensure that the Ministry of Health in that regard ensures that health workers are trained to offer emotional support as well, because emotional support also falls under health, emotional health, mental health. The fifth one was from Ombudsman, who spoke about gender evolving and that everyone needs to catch up with it evolving. And one thing that I really liked that you spoke about was that expectations to gender are both ways. So while men have been expected to provide, there are also stereotypes that women are expected to be caretakers. And that in this day and age, we need to have a world where men are also encouraged to parent. And I could not agree with you more. So parenting is very crucial to the issues that we speak on. It is very, very crucial. I will make it very personal. Obviously, it does apply to personal choices as well. Yaka Rachel Sanabua. But I am what do you call it? I'm a testament of what parenting can do to a child. Majority of the things that I do, majority of my perception, of my behaviors, I can surely tie them to how I was raised. Yesterday, entrepreneur, I grew up with an entrepreneurial mindset because I used to be told, who role models well. My counterparts and my colleagues, but some of us having fathers hasn't necessarily, borne the fruits that it has borne for you. The good thing is that you had a father who parented well. Sometimes I think fathers also perpetuate violence for them, but what we need to now promote is parenting and are role modeling the right way. Men who show what a conducive environment is like, men who teach both their sons and their daughters what love looks like. Love that doesn't hurt. I get men who teach their young girls what love looks like this. I've engaged with many women who have had parents like that. And we always speak to how, because you've seen an idea of love for such a long time, no one can change it for you. You can't raise your voice at me or hate me because my father has never done that. He has never. It is so foreign to me. You can't even convince me I can stay in an environment where I'm not nurtured because it's foreign to me. I have been given an ideology of love from a male perspective that is pure love and that is positive. That's the level of positive role modeling that we speak to. And so I agree with you, we need our men to be present and to parent well. To parent well, working together with mothers. Because all of us have a role to play in curbing gender-based violence, in breaking stereotypes, and in also just building a culture. Mindset is everything. And a lot of children develop their mindset based on what they see. And a lot of children develop their mindset based on what they see. And on alternative, sometimes you say that wasn't good for me, so I'm not gonna do it. But it's very important for men to contribute to parenting, to be present role models who parent well and also don't perpetuate violence. Mama Rabin, you also spoke to the measures in place to ensure that the LGBTQI+ community or victims and survivors have services tailored to meet their needs, which Matatina spoke about when she spoke about partnerships with NAPA, with Bonella, and so on and so forth. It goes back to our gender-sensitive training with Bonella and so on and so forth. It goes back to our gender-sensitive training that we spoke about. Over and above saying that you need to know how to deal with people's emotions, gender-sensitive training also means you need to offer solutions and services with no discrimination whatsoever. You mentioned that I spoke about the human rights approach, and that's exactly what it means. That we need to be so robust in our partnerships. The role of the ministry and the gender department in terms of mainstreaming is facilitating as experts in your fields, as experts in social work, as experts in the the health fraternity. As experts in the legal fraternity, all of us program sensibly towards gender equity and towards the promotion of human rights and upholding this right, no discrimination on whatever basis. And so, Leone is something that does need to be deliberated more. I can surely acknowledge that even when there are programs set and laws set, as human beings, we tend to put our preferences in the forefront. Even when we are told, you must not discriminate, we tend to say, nah, based on my beliefs and based on this is how I behave. And so our programming needs to be more inclusive, I do agree, and we need to be more robust in training our service providers, upholding human rights. And when we say no discrimination, and that there's absolutely no excuse to perpetuating discrimination or violence towards anyone. And so you speak about tailoring our services to meet their needs. I get that it should go beyond not discriminating. Not discriminating is it's playing. We need to play offense. That's what she's saying. That we need to be proactive. It's not discriminating, but that we need to actively ensure that services are tailored to their needs. The same way we say that services are tailored to women. The same way that we say that she's nodding. The same way we say services are tailored to persons living with disability. Again, we don't just say, don't discriminate against them, but in actual fact, you have a ramp for someone because you anticipate that someone might come with a wheelchair. And I would like to appreciate that perspective, that we need to move beyond saying that we're not discriminating, but it needs to practically show in the way we've programmed, in the way that we offer our services. There is room for you. We see you as well. There's room for you. We are also here to offer services to you. It is something that as we program and as we facilitate our mainstreaming, we will engage with all of our stakeholders and all ministries. There's an interministerial committee on gender-based violence. Child welfare, local government, labor and home affairs, health, higher education, all of them. And our role is to ensure that in offering their services, they are cognizant of all issues. And I can assure you that that is something that we've noted and will follow through with. Training of women. Number 6, I'm sorry I could not get your name. You spoke about how we need to train women. You gave examples of doing nails and promoting businesses. As I was telling you yesterday, I went to the graduation ceremony. I program maybe some entrepreneur. This is a program, is the Ministry of Youth and Gender Affairs in partnership with UN Women and DVS Group. There are different levels to it. There's start your business, there's grow your business, there's 2 others. And I was very impressed with what they taught. It is a week program depending on the level that you're at. In 3 days, in 5 days, and I find that this is one of the greatest programs that I have ever encountered. It has the right monitoring and evaluation strategy. 100 and something. After 3 months, they have access to us through WhatsApp. They also help with finding funding for them. And after 3 months, there's also evaluation to say, how can we redirect? And so I can confidently say that these programs are there. But it goes back to saying, are they impacting enough people? And that's a no. That's a no. So we don't necessarily need to go back to the drawing board and come up with programs to empower women economically. Are doing that. There are CSOs that are already doing that. But due to our limited funding, we found that they are not being rolled out to the numbers that we would like. Yesterday, the programs coordinator was saying that budget allows them to cover 500 women over 3 years. And I thought that's far from enough. It is good, it's progress, but it is far from enough. 500 women in Botswana over 3 years in terms of economic empowerment, especially at that level with various partners like Leah, with qualified trainers. We need more of it. We need to have more beneficiaries. Me, ke go assure gore the only issue here is Mahdi. That's it. The programs are there. They do indeed need to be rolled out more, and that will require us to prioritize in terms of budgeting. And I can assure you that I'm committed to advocating to impact more communities. You also spoke about how parents also perpetuate gender-based violence through their stereotypes. Especially ka dikgang tsa manyalo le dikgang tsa di-relationship. Gore gantsi le gape bomme ba kgona go boela ko lapeng ba re a nna ga nka ke a kgona ke a go gontshiwa. Mme be ntse nna batsadi ba re boa thipa e tshwara ko bogaleng lenyalo la itshokelwa. It also speaks to our culture. And so I appreciate you pointing out that we do need to also teach our elderly parents. I can tell you for sure, based on my relationship with my grandmother as well, that I've come to realize what they were taught that way. I get the same way we say that we were taught a certain way as young people, as young women, as women in their 30s and their 40s, our elders were taught that way. So it also takes us being patient with them and teaching them, and not necessarily thinking, they were taught that way. And these are all the stereotypes that when we address, like you are saying, to ensure that as we teach, we do not leave them behind. This will tie well with the Buhosi, it will tie well with the Kereke, it will tie well with the So I appreciate you for that input. The next one, Ealing number 7, spoke about, I'm sorry, I didn't get your name as well. You spoke about how we should promote technology can assist in reporting anonymously, because you find that some people who are victims of violence, based on we must all acknowledge it's not easy for everyone. But there's always someone who knows, there's always someone who cares enough to try to help. But as you are saying, how the system is conducive enough because you know what it's going to, how it's going to affect you, your relationships and so on. So it's important that we come up with that technology. As I was deliberating earlier on and delivering my remarks, we got an online referral system. It was piloted I get the online Atisha and Shorobi. It was piloted ko Atisha and Shorobe, and this system ebe o nna le baitseanape botlhe on that call. O kgona go letsa ko police, wa police a bege kgang ya gago a se tsatse re dinouti, a refer it to the next person, the next person, the next person over the phone. And I think that kgang ya reporting anonymously would tie in very well with that online referral system. I would like to take this time to thank you for that suggestion. This also speaks to our responders in terms of the police. When we speak about reporting violence, how are you receptive to it? How well do you respond to it? Do we respond to it? Ma? Do we? It's an open space, I get it. The role of the ministry and the Department of Gender is also to hold everyone accountable. A role to play. yaanong ke ska ba ba ka ha mosing mme ke re ke kopa gore ba sepodisi le rona re itsheka-tsheke gore aha ke letsa ke re nkgonne kana ke yo go iragala yana. How well do we respond to it? You also spoke about how we need to respond efficiently. Gore ebe wa go letsa ebe wa go tiwa later kana go setse go le worse. I've also had conversations with some victims, survivors, who says, you know, sometimes it gets to a point where you get caught having reported, your life is at risk. And so efficiency is something that we need to actively promote. Maybe the efficiency needs to apply across board. Health-wise, we need to be efficient. We need to be efficient in how we deal with these cases. And I can attest to the justice system where they are actively working on it. And it happens over and over again and your matter isn't heard on time. And there are laws currently that are speaking towards that, and there are also systems that are being restructured to ensure that there's efficiency in the justice system. And this was said by the Minister of Justice and Correctional Services, Juaneka, the Interministerial Committee, to ensure that we deal with this matter better. You also spoke about community-led initiatives. I agree with that. The use of survivors to also guide us on how we can do things better. I have an engagement today to engage with victims, to engage with survivors. I get as a way of also saying are helping us to prevent violence and to respond to violence. We also need to always include violence who have experienced it. What risk our program from our perspective? You want to perspective, I get. Top class. This is actually what we need, as opposed to that. And so I have an engagement this afternoon with victims and survivors to ensure in our programming as well, and we continuously engage with them in programming, but we'll also do that in including them in community-led initiatives. The last lady, women also contribute to violence. It's a very sensitive one. I have noted that it's something that we shy from speaking about because we always say that there's no excuse. We always say there's no excuse. Even if I provoked you, you shouldn't have killed me. Trending on TikTok, but I didn't kill him. Trend that thing is similar to South Africa, I believe, where they said a lot of men have been killing women, and they justify it by saying, and then, you know, and no one even considers how I feel. So there was a gentleman who posted a video to that regard, who spoke about why he did. He killed this woman, left her in the streets, and then he recorded himself. He posted a picture of her dead, and then he recorded himself to say why he did it. And so in the comment section, which was very hurtful, there were men who were saying, we understand. My brother, we understand. When we react, we are the evil ones, and no one is addressing how women treat us and the things that push us to it. Now women then started a trend which said, but I didn't kill him. Where they say, but marato. We face, and we still don't kill you. Now we had women saying, a man has done 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 for me. And this was a way of women saying, there is no excuse. Excuse. Let us look at ourselves as women and see how we relate with men. I get it. There's absolutely no excuse to violence, but it all goes back to kgang ya gore we are all human and we all have a role to play. Dikgang tsa marato ke rata go bua gore ke tsa batho ba le babedi, and they vary from one relationship to the other. I get right. For nako tse dingwe we come and we advise, and the dynamics are completely different. Mme ke tsaya gore motsadi wa rona, with all of her wisdom, ya ka re gwetsa gore re le bomme, let us by all means not perpetuate it ourselves in the way that we relate with men. It also applies to men. Let's not limit it to women. I get it, because we did speak about how violence is from both ends. Even men do get abused. So as victims, as perpetrators, let's all ensure that we lead with mutual respect, but whom? We lead with mutual respect, we lead with love. Marato. There's also the last one, she spoke about how government should go teach communities. I believe I've addressed all 8. I might have missed some, 2 that were given as well. I'm sorry, I didn't note them. Oh no, this is something that I want to put back to the room. I appreciate that there are a few elderly women here, and in my observation and having engaged with some ladies from the Widows Association, Minister, lenna le bua ka gender, le bua ka bana, le bua ka banana, le bua ka bomme ba ba motseong, ga lenke le bua ka di-widow. That's what they said. They said, as widows, we are now experiencing violence from our in-laws. We have issues of inheritance, and then as soon as our husbands pass, so I'm throwing this back to the audience, seeing that there are a few elderly women. Hari inclusivity, haribuika bana hela, banana hela, bombe ba motseong kana mid-aged women. We're also speaking about the elderly. You can share your experiences, you can share your personal experiences, professional experiences, but I'd like to say that as we speak about inclusivity, we're talking about all ages.
Honorable Minister, we are now beyond our time. Honorable Minister, we had a number of people who wanted to share their comments, suggestions, and also ask questions. Kita kopa gore re tse ba bofelo e be re ka wrap up ke ta tsa ba le ke kopa gore ke tse ba le 6 me 6 yo re ne fast a ke re gore gone go wrap up ka bonako ke a leboga.
Ke a leboga motsamaisa tiro tona o se dumedisitswe ka leina ke bitswa moruti Ramaotwana ke ema ha ke le mo boemong ja Masego umbrella mme ke taeta ke tulela le go ruting ka gape ke supe jana motutege gore dikgang tse di builweng ga ke dikgang tse di nomolang pelo hela thata SWDCs re kopana le tsone malatsi otlhe mme jaaka re kopana le tsone jana re nna hatshe le botsadi ga mmogo le banana ba ba amanang le tsone mme jaanong se se thusang botlhoko ke gore mo dikganyeng tsone tse ga o setse o nna hatshe le bone o thotomisa gore mme le ntse le tsela ka tsela e ntseng jang o itlhela le gore dikgang tse di tswa kgakala le ko sepodising ba tswa go bua teng ga ba heta kwa gore lepodisi o taba le ba ba re o tsamayang bo ngwana ka le wena wa moshimanyana o se ka thola o dira jalo mme ke re ba gaetsho nako e setse e hitile ga go sena nako ya bo o se ka thola o dira jalo ka gore gone mo hela ka bogone ra go lemoga go setse go le thare tota ebile ne ke rometse sethogo sa molaetsa wa ka kere prevention is better than cure e le gone gore bontsi ba nako re na le go tabogela dikgang di setse di diragetse e be e le gore jaanong ke gone re reng we need to address such mme ke re tsena mo di-WDC le ba train them so that ba kgone le bone ba bue ka dikgang tse di amanang le kgokgontsho ka gore ba gaetso ke bone ba ba e leng gore le tsena ka bone ke bone batho ba ba tlhaloganyang di-community better than anyone else mme ke supe jaana gore boruti jo bo tutegang ga ke batle go tsaya nako e ntsi le rona a re tswe mo dipulpiting yaka mongwe a sa tswa go bua nna ke bua jaana I've adopted 3 schools in Francistown moso le moso ke tsena mo go bone ke bua le bana mo di-assembly ga go thokana le gore ke motsele kotuko ke bua le ene ke motsetso kotuko ga kganyi bata motsadi ke latela motsadi ko lapeng ke bua le ene ka gore ngwana o kukuntshega a santsana a le monyenyane jaanong we need to break that pandemic as early as possible gona le gore re ba liseletse ba gola ba tswa ko primary at junior level at senior level wa ba setse a graduate at senior level le go bola gona le gore re kgaole ba santsana ba le ko di-primary mo location ya ka ba mpitsa Uncle Rams ga gone yo sa nkitse ba bangwe ba tota Uncle Rams simama ngwana a tsamaya sa rola dithako ba itse gore ngwana o tsamaya a sa rola dithako ke molato jaanong I confront the parent ke rata go itse gore mathata ke eng ka gore o simolola go suka ke ba bangwe jaanong go imminente hela gone ho mme ke supe ya le gore ke heleletse ka ya the legal system. The legal system is failing us. Ke bola tsatsi eno in 2 weeks time ebile ke gwanta hela mo street go sa re sipehela ha ke rata ebile ke heta ha pele ga ja rata ke bola itse ga go yona gore ba bone tota gore I'm out. So go lo mo ba gaetso o ntsha motho e leng gore o santsana a hupetsi o santsana a tupetsi a batla go tsweledisa ha ye mente mme ba tsweledisa honorable ke re a molao o sekasikwe o change-iwe re ta bona sengwe le sengwe se siame. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Ke kopa le di tsohatsa ke gore gone go tsaya ba botlhe ke a leboga.
Ke a dumedisa motsadi ke a dumedisa ministera ke bua go tse Pastor Mamsi Victor nna go block 10 ke emetse le phata le mokgatlho wa Maranatha Glory Health Center ba gaetso ba tswana bana bagolo ba imetswe batho ba imetswe batho ba botlhoko go tswa hela ko ngwaneng but what I've learned myself ke gore go gongwe re le batsadi ga ba bolela bana boammaaruri. We like telling the children the truth, and by so doing we hurt them. Good minister are mo Botswana about 40% people single mothers leading the families. Where are the fathers? Where are the fathers? The fathers are out there and they've neglected the load unto the mothers. And by so doing, me the father is not there. So now, as a pastor and as a mother, I blame who did so in one of my who did in Kayone, when had seen Naruna. Horrid. In our Hawana, Hoto Uimisiti, ebe Hoto Wita told Holomo, Roshansore, Rachel Moho, because Borre, by Banalibana, elsewhere, Wa Gala, somewhere, only with the Banamali. Banamali, they grow up bitter and hurt, and they don't know who they are. They lack self-esteem, they lack identity. Habai Chaluhai, and this child gore a nne le boleng wa go tsena mo relationshipeng ya batlang go ithuta sa sa se rutiwang kope. Fathers, we are lagging behind, number one. Number two, bana, as I said, even in the schools, they displayed even towards the kids. So, tshokela gore re rute bana ba rona bo molemo ja boammaaruri re ka kgona go ba thusa. Ke batla go nna mokhutswane. Ya boraro ke gore ha ke leng teng I'm an entrepreneur. Ke dula mo pulpiting and I went to the marketplace at block 8. So it's in a bar, go na di bar, go na di shop, go na le sengwe sengwe no. Me ha ke leng teng ke bona ha ke kopanang le the real core ya mathata a sa go re motho a sa iphithi a sa fabricate a sa re a tla go tare ba bang ga ba itse go ke mo di ka mothala la rena la six ba itse ke image motho ba go bolela dikgang e ka tswa ile re a re thari le go tirong me go lapeng ka go re thari le yanong ga bone lorato le tlotlo e leng a ntse a e bona a santse a direka. It's a violation against his peace. Ha itumele mo lapeng e ka nna monana ke bua ka ditse ke kopana le tsone tsa letsatsi e ka nna monana e le wa re a re hey magazine jo ke imetse ke ga ke tshile sentle gongwe girlfriend o dira jana o go do di dintsi tse di diragalang and go tla le basetsana, you know where it hurts most ke go bona wana mosana tsa ma sa tswala only to attract somebody to look into her those are the things that I meet and I see every day, to an extent that in 2 days 2 days ago I spoke to someone. I just called her, not because I'm a pastor, just as a mother. My darling, you are looking so good, you are so pretty, and I know you are educated, but and because she knew what I was talking about, I didn't say go and dress well. The next day came when I spoke to her parasite. So little number that you can't just tell somebody over how a parasite but if we could try and pray about it and just love them, just show your love. I know that some are hostile, but if we can just try to love each other and bring forth love back and patience. Thank you very much.
Because our honorable minister only another event to attend to. Me lona ba be di ba tebela ba tsere. Ke kopa go ruku ya nthaile ngwehela. Me ga be le khutshwane. Ke a leboga.
Dumela. Ke a go leka go nna mkhutshwane. I've been trying to raise my hand mo ke sa batho ba bantsi. My name is Dumisang Sedimo. I am a psychosocial therapist by profession, and I'm currently here coming from John Mackenzie Private School as a child development specialist and school counselor. Because like the minister said, we know what's happening, we've seen the statistics. But my question to you, coming from a schooling setting and as a child development specialist and a therapist at that, I realized that the children are struggling a great deal with a disconnect between themselves and their parenting. Do we ever sit down as parents and wonder, are we parenting for ourselves or we are parenting to be received as a way? Because there is such a disconnect. And we as child therapists, we meet a lot that you don't know. And sometimes there's no platform of openness between you and your children. It starts very small. I'm a therapist at a private school where I see children from ages of 3 until 18. At that school, there are 3-year-olds. There are also kids that are adults and 18. In much cases, the parents don't know anything about what the children are going through, and they leave it completely only to a schooling setting. Where I call parent workshops, during school holidays or weekends, Much of our children, unfortunately, are parented by very busy parents because they need to do that in order to afford them the school that they go to. And everybody says an excuse that I'm at work, I can't come. But while we are prioritizing the money making, our children are deteriorating every day. And their value system is extremely unaligned to what we want them to become. Do you ever wonder, am I parenting for my child to be like me or how I was parented 40 years ago? Are we responding to child needs that actually are rightfully in front of our eyes and we see them, or there's a desired outcome of what you want? We will manage this issue, and I love the minister's sentiments that we are taking the human rights approach. Because human rights is basically synonymous from me with empathy. When you empathize with the person next to you, you will accept that they are going through something without judgment. But to in the counseling room, we're not talking about your issue, we're not talking about your time. It's not contextually relevant. I'm telling you that your child is drugging. This is a real issue. Your child is sexually engaging. What are we going to do? What could have contributed to that? Very basic workshops that I do when schools close to parents that are involved with the schools that I'm involved on doing work with. Social media exposure. Are you aware of the influences that are surrounding your children, for example? Are you aware what your children are interested in, why they follow the people that they do? What social media platforms they're in even? What influences them to think the way that they think? So the self-righteousness in itself is exacerbating the situation, and it's not going to help because we're at a point where we realize with those statistics and how they are doubling and probably are going to triple if we are not going to do better. There is no shift. And we need to accept the ministers and the officers are speaking very strategically, beautifully. Like she says, there is already a plan in place. Do you ever wonder, what am I doing as an individual? In my little house, what am I doing in my community? What am I doing in my little office? Because it's very easy to say Minister of Youth is not doing this, Yoli is not doing this, and I know I'm taking your time, but I'm very, I wanted to speak earlier, but I couldn't. And because I'm also coming from a schooling point of view and nobody has actually spoken from that direction, I feel a little bit entitled, and for that I apologize. What are you doing at your level as a parent in your house? Those little things, do you know your child? Are you connected to your child? Do you even understand why they're influenced by the things that they're influenced by? So the self-righteousness is going to have to stop in order for us to win this battle. But it's not bleak. I'm encouraging, as a specialist in counseling, I see my doctor, Dr. Malibala is also up there. Ask for help in places where you're not skilled. I hear everybody talking about that. There is this, there is that office, there is that program. Do we have proper skill for that? I heard the minister speaking about that education really makes a difference and a shift in the world. There are so many educated Botswana. Is that synonymous with the skill base that we possess? Are the psychologists that you're taking your children to even BHPC accredited, for example? Sometimes I say to parents, you're telling me you're bringing this educational psychology report. Does it come from a place that's accredited? Is it going to address the right problem? Is Botswana Examination Council going to accept this educational psychology report that you're bringing? Be in the business of knowing who you're entrusting your children with. Then your value systems are going to be accredited, aligned, and international. And culture also, let's interrogate our home cultures, because a culture is not something that exists in a country. I learned that that chair was black because I was taught in Standard 1 that it's black. Somebody else could have been taught it's red where they exist. So culture moves and it changes over time and it gets influenced by your worldly collectedness. You bring and you take your children to private schools because currently we are at a point where we afford. But are we available and waiting for them to fit into the world? Your child that you want to operate a certain way because it's your desired outcome, will they fit into the world when they get there with the value system that you are speaking about? So we possibly are misplaced. We need to look at ourselves as individuals and stop the self-righteousness. Thank you very much. Yes.
We will continue dialoguing outside this forum. Ke kopa gore the last person o nne mokhutswane. Thank you very much.
Ke a le dumedisa botsadi. Ke bitsa re Kagiso Modei. Ga ke tswa mo lephateng lepe mme hela ke motho e leng gore nkile ka hita ka dikgang dingwe tse dingwe gore ke ne gore tsatsi eno ke be ke leya. Mme ntha e nka tshwanelang ka yone ke tirisano ya setšhaba le sepodisi. O ka re ha go kopanang sepodisi le setšhaba teng go a thunya side e nngwe o ithela le gore ba taba bohutse yo mongwe le ene o ta a bohutse mo o ithela le gore gongwe ga gore tswele mosola. Re na le diofisi tsa GBV ko di-police stationeng. Diofisi tseo ke tsa gore di ka re tswela mosola ga re ka di dirisa sentle, gongwe re tsei ba botsogo e bong madi wa tlhaloganyo a berekele ko di-operate full time e bong 24 hours. Ha go na le mongwe kana a reporta dikgetsi tsa mohutao a ka kgona gore go nniwe hatshe go lebelelwe mabaka ao e be re ha go sena go lebelelwa mabaka ao ba e leng gore ke ba sepodisi ba ba ithutetseng dikgang tseo tsa GBV e se le polisi lengwe le lengwe ba ka dira di-report tsone di-report tseo e be nna tsone tse di ka yang ko di-court go ya go supa gore nya mme gone re tsere matsapa ke ya ra thothomisa kgang e mme rona re dumela gore kgang e tota ke GBV ka gore go na le batho ba ba iphithang ka programme e kana ka mananeo ba ya ko mapodising ba ya ka re yo na re dira se se ntseng jang e le motho wa mme o bo tsewa o itsenngwa mo diseleng ha o lebelela disele honorable minister le ha o ka tsena ha Kutwana police station e se ke a basone wa go bona hela se mo teng gore a mme gone ke tsena ke di-feet mo teng ga sele ye e leng gore dikobo tsa teng go ne go tsentswe ba bangwe ba ne ba go tshologa madi ba bangwe ba reng a mme gone ra be re lebeletse gore ga re tsolole ditshwanelo tsa setho kampo botsogo ja motho yoo a re a tswa moo mo teng ga sele moo a ba sa tsoga sentle mme re mo tsentse moo a tsogile sentle ka lebaka la gore gongwe o patikilwe gongwe ga a patikwa ka gore ga re ise re thotomise dikgang ga ise a bone molato mme e re mosadi a emelele a ye ko court a go applyela restraining order e be grantiwa ye se nang bosupi mme batho ba na le bana mmogo ka moso e be le gore wo wa rreo ha ile go ruta ba netswe access ya ngwana ko court yo a ba gana yo le restraining order ya go le go ba botswala police ba tshwanetse gore ba gagamatse molao mme yo mo accessing ga ga bona gore ba police ba tshwanetse ba gagamatse molao e be re ha go tsena ko botswana police station yo a re mme o pudile tsamaiso ya lekgotla kana taelo ya lekgotla ene a ba sa tsewe kore a ba sa gongwe a sa thateng ene ga a reporta o le rre o lala o tsere tsatsi leo o tsenngwa mo diseleng gate o pudile tsamaiso ya lekgotla mme le o le pudile tsamaiso ya lekgotla ya go gongwe ho a honorable minister o ka re go gongwe a re lekeng gore re balansise ha re bua ka dipalo re be re bua ka gore nya dipalo tseo ka re diko godimo tse go a re go gongwe hela ga re tshwane ebile a re amogele dikgang ka go tshwana that's why yo mongwe a kgone go ikanya gore nka bolaya ka se ka tronkong yo mongwe a re nka ikanya go a tronkong ka se ke se dirileng yaanong go gongwe honorable minister ke kopa gore a re lebeleleng dikgang tse ka tsela ye nngwe re kgone gore re di tseye re di be mo sekalong ka tekatekanyo yote ha mosadi a le molato o molato ha re a le molato o molato ke ka kopo ya
ke a leboga ke kopa gore le ikopele matsogo jaanong ke tabe ke ibusetsa ka ko go wena honorable minister
me doc ga ke batle go isenya. The gentleman here is talking about, do we have systems in place where we will proudly beyond reasonable doubt, clearly show whether the perpetrator isn't the victim and whether the victim isn't the perpetrator. Do we have systems in place? Kikopa 30 seconds of your time, Your Honorable. I'm the only male prison psychologist across the country. So the 3,500 males in this and all the statistics that has been mentioned here, they are my clients. Men don't cry. Why am I asking for 30 seconds of your time? Systems. You know, in our country we have this thing that kills me as a therapist. Relebella dilo go godimo e seng go tlase. Go bona gore a mme jaaka re na le ditshiamelo tse di a diragala. Let me take you home. We have a gentleman, yo e leng gore o suicidal, and the first liners are police officers. And arenali an expert who is entitled, who is experienced to deal with mental crisis as a front desk officer at that time. Moving away from that, if this person is seen in the police office, is this person going to a safe place within the police cells? This is basically what this gentleman is saying. Systems in place. And what are we saying to verify that? We have that voice of the victim, and we don't want to underplay these voices of the victims. However, have we gone out? The Afrobarometer of 2023 says to date, Your Honorable Minister, we don't have research on these areas. What really direct us? And what funding are we putting into research to show that indeed this is where we are going because we have empirical evidence to guide us? Thank you very much. Back to you.
Thank you, sir. You asked me to speak in 30 seconds and you spoke in 2 minutes. I find that rather unfair, is it not? But respectfully, I would like to say that most of the issues that are being spoken of are justice issues, and it is not my purview. And I would humbly say that I am going to take them up with Honorable Ramotwana. There is a tour on BTV, it's at 8 to 9. Will be addressing all of the issues that are being asked, all of our 100-day plans. Is being hosted by Benson Putejo. I believe that our PR team would be able to also share the dates, but without also leaving it unattended to, I can say that the Interministerial Committee at GBV, which I am currently chairing, addresses such issues. This is where we hold everyone accountable to ensure that even our systems are the right systems. They accurately, actively, efficiently, and effectively address the needs of our societies. But I can assure you that I will definitely take it up with the Honorable Minister, and hopefully he will address it on the BTV platform for everyone to be able to get this answer. Kanyeng His research, even though it applies, you were speaking it in, relating to the justice system. Research is very important, even for the gender department. The statistics that we speak about, the studies that we speak about, for example, we speak about the relationship study, 2018. So as the new government, these are some of the things that are a true priority to us to ensure that we are depending on data that is relevant to what is currently happening. And it is something that is being looked into in terms of facilitating our research collection, our data collection, and ensuring that we address the needs. Rasa pay reference to how it used to be. So I appreciate that remark. Ebe ke tswa like ya go hodimo to wow, Masidimo. Wow. I am always speaking about children at home. Children. I'm not going to say much. You have said it beautifully, and I completely agree with everything you've said. I always love it when it's coming from the other end. And so let me just take this opportunity to thank you for bringing it from your perspective, for bringing it from your experience, you deal with on a daily basis. Maybe let's start introspective in this very room. Your neighbor should be introspective, the person in front of you, the person behind you. Let us all introspect as parents. Our psychotherapist has spoken to. We also have Pastor Victor, who spoke about how parents, fathers, haven't been much present as they need to be. She also spoke about leading with love and patience. And I appreciate that you're also dealing with it from perspective of a pastor. We really look up to pastors for guidance, and pastors also have this me baruti ba na le an aura e letelang batho gore ba kgone go bua le bone ba phuthulogile ka jalo ke dumela gore ke dikgang tse ding gore o di itemogetse ke itumella le your advice on how we should deal with it moving forward. I believe majority of what you were saying in advice. This is also the kind of advice that is being given to individuals. She's giving it to you as a parent, as a sibling, at your home. As individuals. Community engagements, it really requires us to also have individual introspection. We also have Pastor Ramaldwana, who spoke about how we need to caution against condoning violence. You also spoke about prioritizing prevention by training the relevant people, by what are the ones who deal with this. It goes again to cancer community development. It speaks to skills alignment. It speaks to the relevance. You are reiterating the previous speakers as well to ensure that we really reach the community this information, and to also train and capacitate the people who are currently dealing with the issues. I find that sometimes when we come up and we say we want new interventions, we want to completely start from scratch, train new people, make say more encouragement, more knowledge, more skills, so they can do that job better. And I appreciate that input as well. You also spoke about the legal system failing us. For example, sometimes someone who is considered a perpetrator. You see, when you speak about legal things, innocent until proven guilty. And as part of our human rights, they have that right. Complexities. As much as we say we have a right to protection, those who we say are our perpetrators are considered innocent until proven guilty. It is why the system allows for there's currently the Bail Act. The person who is a victim but we find ourselves in these complexities where now that versus the right to be innocent until proven guilty are now contradicting each other. I can assure you that those are things that are being looked into. Hence why we also speak about the Gender-Based Violence Act, because it addressing some of the issues that we're speaking to. But on the other end, those who are to be implementing them are not implementing them because sometimes they also clash with other rights. And I can assure you that we are actively working towards them as the interministerial committee at GBV. We hope that everyone can bring in that perspective. And when we collectively work on a better way forward, kamoso gender department police implement which is what we're finding ourselves in currently, where there is a disconnect between various responders to ensure that we address it from various perspectives. I believe that was the last one, but in closing, I would like to say that the ministry has launched an online suggestion box. We deal with them in our professional capacity and as individuals as well. And I would like to urge you to, Pia, can we please display it? I'd like to urge you to access this online suggestion box. You can find the link the Ministry of Youth and Gender Affairs Facebook page. And as the website is also being fixed, you can also find it there once it's fixed. This dialogue should not end here. I get it. It shouldn't end here. It takes a lot of resources to put all of this together, but we're also committed and we deal with these issues on a day-to-day. I knew we haven't discussed here. She should be able to access it and communicate with that with us. Thank you. Oh, it's back. To access this online suggestion box, we do realize that we do not have access to it, but we are actively working towards ensuring hey, we have the answers. We just need an opportunity. And in closing, I'd love to give you that assurance that as the Ministry of Youth and Gender Affairs, we are committed to partnering with you in all of your capacities to curb all of the gender issues and address them actively.
Thank you very much, Honorable Minister. Molaudi, kita kopa hore o as. Okay.
It's a mafela jalo thulaganyo e tsweletseng gone ka ko motseng ole wa Francistown ko ileng gore go puthaganetse jalo go tshota dikgang tsone tsa gender based violence re lebile jalo gone gore dipalo re di bona di ntse di tsamaya di oketsega mo lefatsheng la rona la Botswana mme potso e ka nna gone gore thabololo e ka ta ka tsela e ntseng jang mme bile re ka tsama re dira eng gore mongwe le mongwe a nne le sabe mo go tsameng jalo re bona gore re ta ka ditsela le metlhale e leng gore re ka dira jalo gone gore tsamaye re hokotsa tsone dipalo tse e be re emisa gotlhelele dikgang tsone tsa gender based violence mo thulaganyong ya rone mo tsatsing la gompieno ke nagano le re mothusi e leng gore ke monana a o tsamang jalo a bereka thata ka dikgang tsone tse tsa go lwantsha dikgang tsa kgokgontsho ya bong goreng re tsibogele jalo mahoko a leng gore re tsamaile re ntse ra reditse mo mosong wa gompieno jaaka thulaganyo e ntse e tsamaya gone ka ko motseng ole wa Francistown ke se sebaka se ke go amogele mo thulaganyong ya rone e hapegileng mme ebile ke go sebaka sa gore gongwe ipelela jalo babogedi ko lapeng go tseneletse jalo gone gore ha re ta mo dikganyeng tsone tsa gender based violence mothusi o tsena jang mo go tsone leto le leng gore go ngotsamele ka tsone
era ke lebogile thata Mr. BK ke bidiwa monthusi le godi ke go ga ke tswa ko maong but ke manana o e leng gore go letse thata mo kweneng so hantse ke gola e be ke kopana le dikgantsone tsa gender based violence re nna le rai groupa re le banana ba mo Kweneng from different regions. Banana ba tswa ko bo Ditshukudu, banana ba tswa ko bo Kweneng, Kopong, Lentsweletau, bo Medie, e le gore ba bona kgogontsho mo dikgaolong tseo e le, I'd say, more extreme, especially that ga gona accessibility ya dilo tse dintsi, ya ditlamelo tse dintsi tse e leng gore di thusa gone gore batho ba e leng gore ba amiwa ke dikgang tsa kgogontsho ga ba kgone go di bona sentle. So be re ikopanya e le gore tota ne re bitswa ke the former first lady a re o batla gore ka gore kgaolo ya Kweneng region go lebega le gore kgogontsho e a tshosa teng, ebile gantsi dingwaga ntse di tsamaya ga malatsi ntse a tsamaya ne re tlwaetse kgogontsho gore nya mme o mo tlhabile ka thipa ba ikaletsa. So yaanong o tla itemogela gore ke tla re the gruesomeness of ka go bolawang ka teng kana ka go dirwang that act ka teng has changed. It's like dipelo tsa the perpetrators di thatagalla ko pele, and they become even more creative in ka ha e leng gore they destroy lives ka teng. And from my perspective or from my point ya representative wa ko Kweneng region, e be re thela le gore Molepole le dikgaolo tsa gagwe go maswe dikgang tse ebile ga di reportiwe, dikgang tsa teng ga gona tsibogo e leng gore e nna le maduo ape. So e be re tswa ka yone mokgatho o bidiwa Ikage Mokwena le gore as banana a re lekeng gore re tsosolose seriti sa Mokwena, a re leke go tsosolosa the principles that we were groomed with, tse e leng gore di teng le gonana, tse e leng gore di tshwanetse gore di re thuse gore re kgone go golela in a safe environment, le the generations to come le bone ba kgone go ithela ha e leng gore it's a safe environment, e le gore it's healthy to grow in, because unfortunately gone yana especially mo dikgaolong tsone tsa Kweneng tse ga go nna sentle go maswe. So Ikage Mokwena le office ya ga office of the first lady e be re neela yone tshone ya gore re ire mokwalo, e be re ira le dipatlisiso tsa gore go ka dirwa jang.
re ntse re tsamaya re lebile se e leng gore ke dipuisano tse di ntseng di le teng gone ka ko motseng wa Francistown mosong wa gompieno, o bua re lebile kgang ya Kweneng mme ebile le se e leng gore ra se bona se buiwa a jalo gone ka ko dikgaolong tsa Francistown. Se se supa jalo gone gore this is a national crisis e leng gore re tshwanetse gore re bone gore re ya tumela ka tsela e ntseng jang. Ga ke itse gore ga re ntse re tsamaya re reditse mo wa gompieno a ka ha e leng gore dikgang tse the contribution e leng gore is coming from batho bane ba e leng gore ba ka go dikgaolong tsa ko Francistown ka kwa o tshwantshanya le se e leng gore le lona maitemogelo a lona ke sone goreng we in the right direction or moving together gore re bone jalo gone gore re ka tsisa tharabololo ja mo dikganyeng tsa gender based violence.
Re bile ke tumetse thata. I'm very excited because I'd say finally re na le gormento e leng gore o butse dipati, gormento e leng gore o dumetse gore re kgone go buisana, gormento e leng gore is willing to listen to the opinions of those that are on the ground ba e leng gore ba ralla dilo tseo ba di bona on a daily basis. Ke pikile magoko a mangwe gantse ke reeditse dipuisano gore as peaceful as we are le Botswana, as beautiful as our country is, unfortunately, Botswana is an unsafe place to dwell in for women and children, looking at the statistics, the gender-based violence. So, I also appreciated the old lady wa Dingaka Association. We tumela gore finally go tla nna le kona go nne le accessibility le ko magaeng ko teng ko e leng gore ga gona proper resources or communication e rileng. Yani ke tumela gore our Ministry of Youth and Gender is now ready to spark a conversation, is not ready to mobilize gore re bue and not only speak eloquently and fluently about these issues but also take action. Ebile ba ke rata gone gore how ka lebella the whole conversation o go etla motho mo le mo gore a nne le a personal conviction because we are all accountable. Gore re gone go gotsa dipalo tsa gender based violence or at the most eliminated completely.
All right. Gape ga re ntse re tsama re lebelela e be re fitlhela e le gore dikgang tsone tsa gender based violence ga re tsama re lebeletse maybe ka ga ileng gore the proposal e neng le kwadile le tsamaya le batla go diragatsa le the former first lady Meneo Masisi gongwe re nopola gone go gore kana o ka ile jalo gone gore ka ga ileng gore dilo di ntse ka teng mo nakong ya gompieno dikgaolo tse dinnyane tse ileng gore di dikaganyeditse ene mo lepolle e le gone ko ileng gore ditamelo gongwe ga di kgone go goroga a ko bathong ka teng re di isa ka tsela e ntseng a jang go netefatsa jalo gone gore le bone ga re ba tlogele ko morago ga re ntse re ta mo dikganyeng tsa gone gore re kgone go lemoga ga ileng gore re ka nna le seabe ka teng gore le bone ba nne le kitso ene
sengwe se ke se itemogetseng le se e leng gore gone ana ebile re simotse go se dira ke go nna le botsalano le go itse marara kana bogogi jwa motse because re lemogile gore ke bone ba e leng gore ba gaufi thata le batho botlhe e be re ira botsalano gape le baeteledipele makhanselara e be re ithela le gore gape go na le banana gone mo metseng ba e leng gore ba lapisitswe ke dikgantse tsa kgogontsho ebile ba di bona di ba utlwisa botlhoko e be re kgona go kopana le bone so we have been able to establish relationships le bone gore nya ke re tla ke le monthusi ke ta le bana ba meke ba ke na le banana ka nna ke ba e leng gore bana le maikelo a gore ba gone go bua ga dikgantse e be re thusana gore lona ba e leng gore le go kgakala ga lena ditlamelo dingwe tse e leng gore they limit accessibility re dira yang re tle re buisane go simolola ka Mantaga re tebe re simotse go tsamaya le dikgaolo tse tsotlhe tse re buisana le banana bone ba because so se sengwe se se ntumedisang gape it's the spirit of volunteerism in our country. I'm always humbled go itlhela le gore go na le banana ba e leng gore they're willing to be used gore ba gone go bua ka dikgantse ebile the forthcoming and how ka tse dikgantse e leng gore ba di tshotse and the reports that they have ka dilo tse e leng gore ba di bona tse di ragalang in regards to kgogontsho o ka utlwa botlhoko thata and I'm very excited that finally we get to talk about these things.
Go di bone ga re lebile the interventions ga go ntse go buiwa kgantele ke kgonne go lemoga goreng go na le kgantsa gore gongwe culturally ka re tsamaya re dira dilo ka teng ga re le Batswana le bagolo ba tona mo go rona ba na le ka ileng gore gongwe dilo ba ntse ba tsamaya ba ditlhaloganya ka teng mme rona re le banana re na le ka ileng gore le rona dilo re di leba ka teng. And this then would call for, interdialogues tse e leng gore the intergenerational re kgone go bona gore motho o mogolo le motho o monyenyane ba ka bua ka tsela e ntseng jang gore dikgang tse ba kgone ba di rarabolole mmogo ga ke itse gore gone go re ka e bereka jang gore go kgone go nne le one kutlwisisano yone eo re lebile gongwe ka go harogana ga rona ga dingwaga.
So sengwe se se itumelang ke gore ga dingwaga ntse di tsamaya botsadi jwa rona bo setse bo a ngongorega kere ebile ba tshoswa ke go bona ka ga e leng gore kgogontsho e ke kela ka teng ebile gantsi e diragatswa ke banana ba e leng gore ga ba itumelele dio dingwe tse e leng gore di helela di ba tsenya mo diphatseng kana di helela di ba influence gore ba kgone go ira dio tse e leng gore ga di a siama so e be ke itumela gape gore gantse re dikgantse ntse di kekela yana gantse di reporte tsa gore kgogontsho ya gola batsadi ba lapa ebile yana ba batla go itse gore gate re reng. So I think finally we are getting through to them. Na se ke se itemogetseng ke gore yaanong bogogi batsadi despite the cultural beliefs tse di teng ba kgona go lemoga gore the times are not the same. Not that we should disown principles that have raised a disciplined generation, but tse dingwe re kgona go bonagala gore di gobatsa kana di emisa or they stunt the growth and progress ya gore kgone go addressa dikgang tse e leng gore di teng ebile yaanong ga ntse re bua like especially for myself ga re ntse re tsamaya le dikgotla re ntse re tsamaya mo di-meetingeng re bua le bagolo re lemogile gore dilo tse ntse di le teng ntse di sa bue because a ke re bagolo ba rona ba godile ba bipa because they could not talk about certain things. No ka se bue gore you've been molested by your father kana malomago kana mogolo. No ka se bue gore you've been impregnated by your sibling. You know, you would not report rape because of economic issues. So now finally ba kgona go lemoga gore this generation is different. These things, they hurt them in their development and the progress le ya go goleng ga bone. So finally they are ready to talk about it, and ga go motlofo go santse gona le ba ileng gore ba santse ba dumela gore dilo tse di sensitive, we don't talk about those things, but ga rena go mara go tswela ntse re le ka gore re tsholetse lentswe la teng so that we reach out to them, because re lemogile gore ba bantsi ba bangwe when we interview them they become very emotional because of it. We are opening old wounds.
O ka re o ronkgela thata le be go kganya di itse le nna ke ntse ke tsamaya ke ipotsa ke gone gore a dipalo tse ha re bona dipalo e ka re di a kekela a ke gone gore kitso yaanong e tsena mo bathong gore dikgang tse ga ra tshwanna go di bipa ke dikgang tse e leng gore tshwanetse gore re tsame re di ntshetse konte a motho we thutholaganya yene e hapegileng e leng gore re go tsetsa jalo bone bo kopano bo e leng gore bo a diragala gone ka ko Francistown a go e leng gore jalo motona mo lephateng la banana le bong jalo me honorable Lesego Chombo o gone ka kwa jalo gone go buisa le banni ba Francistown di kgaolo tse di digangetseng yone toropo ya Francistown ka dikgang tse di tsamang di ama yone gender based violence me bile ga re bua jalo mo mogaleng ke na le Nelson mo Lapisi o ileng gore lene ke mongwe ba le gore ba tseneletse yone phuthego yone re buisane lene mo nakong ya gompieno ta ke se baka se ke go dumedise me bile ke lebogele jalo gore bona le rona mo mosong wa gompieno mo Botswana Television. Nelson
dumela Relezo
be ke lebogele jalo gone gore mo mosong o ne re bone jalo dipuisano tse e leng gore di ntse di tsamaya di tsweletse gone mo Francistown re lebile jalo ka ha e leng gore dikgang tsa kgokgontsho dikgang tsa bong di tsamaya di ntse di buiwa gongwe o re tlanyetse ka ha e leng gore le lemogile dipuisano tse di tsamaya ka teng mme bile seo ka ratang gore e nne like the key takeaways from your conversation discussion e leng gore e tsamaile teng mo mosong wa gompieno.
Ke a leboga rente ke go leboga le balebeledi ba Botswana Television. Ke supegela gore mo mosong ono ne re na le minister wa banana le bong le merero a bong a tlile go buisana le batsa karolo mo toropong ya bobedi ya Francistown ka dikgang tsone tsa bong le ditlhabollo. Mme ga buisana le bona kganye nna tlhagelela thata ke yona kganya kgokgontsho ya bong e le gore all the stakeholders ba tsa karolo ba botlhe ba ne ba tsene mo go yona ba supa gore ke kganyelo gore ga ya ba roba tsele le setšhaba mme hela se stona se ba se supileng ke gore re tshwanetse re ema ka dinao ba botlhe re le tšhaba ya lehatshe la Botswana go tshwaraganna kganya kono e le gore mme re tshwanetse ra dira dipatlisiso tse di tla supa gore mme seemo se re buang ka sona mo nakong ena se ntse jang le gore ebile se bakwa keng.
Gone gore ha re simolla puisano gone ka kwa go ile ga supiwa jalo dipalo tse e leng goreng di teng re lebile jalo ka ha e leng gore dikgang tsone bogolo jang tsa kgokgontsho ya bong di a diragala mo motseng wa Francistown be ke ntse ke bua jalo gone gore le moeng wa me ha gore kana se supa goreng ene o bua ka go ga Mokwena goreng bothata bo teng gone ka ko Francistown le lona bothata a bo teng mebile go supa bo tshwana mme se ebile se ra ja le gone goreng this is a national crisis e leng gore re tshwanetse goreng re bone goreng ra e potakela ka pele ga ke itse gore gongwe ga re lebelela tsone dipalo tse neng di supiwa ka ko ke ba sepodisi sa Botswana re ka re go ka bata goreng re gegoge ka tsele e ntseng jang to ensure that we come with these interventions tse e leng gore ne tsamaya di buiwa mo tsatsing la gompieno mme bile di ka diragadiwa ka ponya leitho
erra ya mme ke a leboga gone se mo ka kwano hela ya ka go mahelong a mangwe a Botswana hela ya ka Botswana o tlheka ka gare se sengwe molatiro mme se re ka se la ntlhoko ke goreng toropo ya Francistown e dikaganyeditswe ke metse mentsi thata ya bokoni bophirima ya North East e le gore ke yone metse e le gore e tshela dikgantse mo toropong batho phakela batla mo toropong maitsibo a ba boela ko ntle mme ano dikgantse bontsi ba nako di diragala thata gone mo toropong ya ka re bone dipalo mme se gwetlha gone ya ka na ba bua kganye tona ke a gore di-civil societies tse di kwano di-headquarters tsotlhe di ko ga borona mme a go ntse yalo go ba palisa gore ba kgone go bereka sentle ka goreng ga ba tsena mo ground ga ba tlhoka thuso ya potlako go fosa goreng ba bantse ba referela ko ga borona ke ngwe ya dikgang tse ba di lebisitseng tona wa rona ka kwano sa bobedi ya nna kgang ya gona goreng ba tlhelelwa ke tsone di-resources tse di sa ba kgontsheng gore ba ka dira tiro ka gore go ba fosa gore gale le gale ba nne ba tsamaya ba tswa ga ba leng teng ba covera le metse e dikologileng yone toropo ya Francistown sa bobedi yana yone kgang ya gore go tshwanetse ga nna le tshwaragano re tswa ka strategy sa gore ba botlhe ba tsaya karolo ka kwano ra tshwaragana re lwa kgannye re le bangwe e se ko mongwe a tla ka kgannye ntse jaana o mongwe a tla ka yone ntse jaana ba botlhe re tshwaragane mme hela ya ka toropo ena le lekalana la Child and Gender Protection Unit ba kopile gore a di resources tsotlhe resource persons kana ba botlhe ba dila le dikgantse ba nna go gologongwe e se ka re ga ke tswa ko spatela be ke simolola ke a kgakala go toko batla ba sepodisi le go simolola go toko batla counselor a ba botlhe ba bone ba le go gologongwe ba ha ena motswa setlhabelo ditlamelo ka nako e le nngwe ke nngwe ya dikgang tse e le gore ba hitile ka tsone tse e le gore di tlhoka goreng ka bofefo di potlakelo
e be go nna le kgang e leng gore gangwe le gape tona o e tatsame a ntse a e bua le ene mme ebile ke ratile jalo gone gore mo sebakeng sa gompieno o beile jalo gone gore kgang e ne e tswa jaanong mo batswaneng ba e leng gore ba teng kako e leng gore ke seabe se e leng gore ka bongwe hela jwa rona ra go tsamaya e le gore re nna le se e leng gore ra se tshameka karolo e leng gore ra e tshameka mo go netegatseng jalo gore dikgang tse ra tumela mme ebile kana go hela go tswa mo ka ileng gore rona boitsholo jwa rona a bontse ka teng le the personal choices tse e leng gore re tsamaya re di dira kana ke gone ha ileng gore dikgang tse di simologa teng gore mme ga re le batho re tsamaya re ikaga re bona jalo gone gore our contribution to ending this is not starting it all together gone go gore re tsiboga re reng ebile o ka rotloetsa gongwe le magoko a gago a bogelo jalo re kgaogana motswana ko lapeng gore le ena a itse gore seabe sa se tshamekang ke eng mo go tseng karolo mo dikganyeng tsone tsa gender based violence
ke a reboga tota hela sotlhe ga re bua sengwe le sengwe se simolola ko lapeng ga re mo ya ka modi a setlhare mo botshelo re modi a setlhare mo mothong ke ko lapeng re tshwanetse ra bona gore di-family tsa rona re simolola nna ga ba tshwere di-strengthene re simolola nna ga ba tshwere le botsadi re nne le di-conversation le bana ba rona ka dikgang tsonetse ga re simolola hela ko malapeng re nna ga ba ko malapeng re buisane ka dikgantse e re a re tswa mo malapeng re tsena ko dikgotleng re bua ka dikgantse e re a re tswa mo dikgotleng re ko setšhabeng yaanong re o bua ka dikgantse ba botlhe gongwe le gongwe a re leng teng le ko re itisang teng ko dibareng le ko mabaleng a metshameko re bua ka dikgantse ke itumela thata ka gore ka kwano mo Francistown ba ditshimi tsa santse go teng tsa Sontaga ba setse ba tsetse kgannye ko godimo ebile ba setse ba tshamekela go tshameka metshameko e kgatlhanong le kgannye ya kgokgontsho ya bong ke dingwe tsa dilo tse re di batlang go bona mongwe le mongwe ha a leng teng a eme ka kgannye gore a kgale sete se se iragalang mme be re boela gape ko morago re nna re o batlisisa gore mme ka nte se se irang gore gompieno be re tsuka kana yane re lwana go le kana re shakgetse go le kana mathata a ha kae.
All right. Thank you ke lebogetse jalo tshwelo tsa gago le gore bo buisantse le rona ile ene re Nelson Molapi ile the acting senior gender officer gone ka ko Francistown ko ileng gore a jalo gona le bokopano jwa gender forum ko ileng gore go tsamaya go buiwa jang ka dikgang tse di harologaneng tsa bong le dikgang tse dingwe jalo tsa yona go kgontsho ileng gore a ra bona jalo e diragala mo lehatse la rona la Botswana thata gongwe ga re lebile mo go tse leng gore re ntse re lebile di tsama di diragala mo nakong ya gompieno go na le dikgang tsa gone gore these gender issues ga re tsama re bua ka tsone go nna le dikgang tsa tekatekano gape jalo gone goreng mme le ntswa re tsama re ntse re bua goreng batho ba bo mme gongwe re ka rata goreng ba nne le se kgang e nngwe e nang e ta ko morago ke gone gore kana mme o ka re tlogela ko morago motho wa rre ngwana wa mosimane jalo mme kana ga go nna go tsisa yone go sa nne le yone tekatekano ene eo e be re bona jalo gongwe go ka keketsa dikgang tse e leng gore tsamaya re di bona a di diragala mo nakong ya gompieno.
Ke kgang e botlhokwa thata. There is a thing called preaching healthy masculinity e leng gore ka ha ke itemogetseng ka teng ke go mo e leng gore ga go rutiwe from an early age. So if we promote healthy masculinity at the earliest, re ruta ngwana mosimane how to handle himself, le how to handle and value motho wa mme at an early age. Ke na le tumelo gore it will have impact e ntsi go goleng ga gagwe le gone gore a gone go responda to being provoked. And apart from that, Kanya GBV, and especially when it comes to men, I would say it's very complex because there's a lot of psychological, or let me say social, economic issues that are involved or factors that also influence that. There is so I would say, Tota, as the minister has said, we no longer have an excuse because there are safe spaces that have been created for Komolepolo, for example, on the men's sector. It's open for from unfortunately, it does not cater for adolescent young boys, but it has created a platform where we discuss the issues. I would say we're not comfortable with talking about them in public. No, unfortunately, the men's sector, I think it's not amplified enough, sadly. But if in the context the man as the main perpetrator is left behind, it's a crucial issue because I for example, we don't leave anybody behind. The perpetrator can convert into the protector. The perpetrator can be rehabilitated and rebuilt from being abusive, from negatively responding to issues, society, because that's what we expect of our men. It's going to be I would say naturally there is an ego that comes with being male. And it's going to be a long fight, but now I would say personally I appreciate the efforts that are there. By all means to come forth, to take responsibility, be accountable. At a different perspective, but the advantage of the structures that have been set in place gore ba kgone go addressa dikgang tsa bone sentle. Yes.
Gongwe re tere boele gone ha go re Nelson pepele ha re ta re tsamaela go motsibong wa thulaganyo ya rona gongwe ke botse ha jalo gone gore le ntswa go na le mongwe na bua tota gore kana nako tse dingwe ithelle le dikgang tsa bong di le teng jalo ebe gongwe ya gender based violence e le yone e leng gore e tswa thata mme go na le tse dingwe dikgang tsa gender tse e leng gore di teng jaaka dikgang tsa tekatekano jalo tsone tse di tsamaile di amiwa jang dikgang tse mebile re bone gore re ka itsa mohago jang re le lehatshe go yeng pele go bona le gore mme ka ha e leng gore re dira dilo ka teng le akabo ya madi ya setšhaba jaaka eta beta jana re bone gore dikgang tse di direletswe thata ko tekatekanong ya bong.
Ke ra go gare bakang erra ke nngwe ya dikgang tse di kileng tsa amiwa ka kwano go ntse jalo mme kgang e duleng thata e tlhamaletse ko teng e le goreng maphata ka bongwe ka gore ke one a e leng goreng a implementa a tshwanetse a bona gore a ira mo go teng gender budgeting ba na le budget hele e lebile dikgang tsa bong gore la ba isa ditlamelo ko ba leng teng ba lebelelwa ra mme ditlamelo tse di goroga ko motswaneng mme motswano e le mang a di goroga ko rre le mme ka go lekalekana le bona e le maphata ka bobedi ka bongwe ba ska ba re ditlamelo hele di ile ko motswaneng mme ba tlhodumela thata le bona go bona gore mme ditlamelo tsa di ya ko motswaneng a mme di goroga ko motswaneng ka go lekalekana ka gore botswana re lebile gore kganya equality yone re hitlheletse mongwe le mongwe o na le tshwanelo ya go bona ditlamelo mme ga re o lebela equity yaanong ya gore mme mongwe le mongwe re mo atumetsa ditlamelo ke gona le hatshela botswana re sentse re tlhaela teng ke gona re tshwantse re le makalana ra nna le mo go teng affirmative action ha re bona gore ha bo mme ba tlhaela re ba atumetse ha re bona gore ha bo re ba tlhaela re ba atumetse hela yalo le ngwana mosetsana le wa mosimane re ba atumetse gore ba botlhe ba kgone go akola maamiso ka go lekalekana.
Gongwe go na le gone kgang ya gone gore kana mme gangwe le gape ebile nna kgang e leng gore e na le go ta gore re le Botswana re itse go dira makare di-policies ka e leng gore di ka tseng ka teng mme jaanong gongwe where we are lacking ke mo e leng gore go netagatseng gore a mme di a diragadiwa di a tsamaisiwa ka e leng gore gongwe ne re ka tswa re beile mo moalong ka teng ga ke tsore dikgang tsone tse gongwe ebile re lebelela ka ga go tokagatseng go iseng ditamelo ka teng a ke so se e leng gore re se bona se ka kgonagala for us to improve maybe our monitoring and evaluation frameworks or criteria se e leng gore re tsamaya re di dirisa a go lebelela ka e leng gore re isa ditamelo ka teng.
Erra mme ke a leboga mme ke nngwe ya dilo tse di ka diragalang ga ba botlhe re nna le accountability ga re ka tsaya national policy on gender and development e tlhamaletse hela gore seabe sa mongwe le mongwe ke eng sa ministry mongwe le mongwe ke eng mme hela mo go implementeng yone policy yone ke gona re sentse re tlhaela teng ka gore policy e supegela gore lephata la merero a bong gender affairs ke le coordinator mme ba ba implementang ko one maphata ka bongwe le ba civil society organizations yaanong gone go ko implementationeng ke gona go re nang le bothata teng mme hela nne re ka bona gore policy e ya implementiwa mathata a mantsi le one kgang e re ntse re bua ka yona go ntsha bong a na ka gokotsega thata mo lehatsheng la rona.
Thank you ke lebogile gore bo buisantse le rona mo mosong wa gompieno re Nelson Molapi be ta thola sente ka ko Francistown.
Thank you le baretsi ba Botswana television.
Thank you ke lebogile gongwe re tere garele morare ka magoko a gago a bohelo jalo ile gone jalo gone gore re tse kgang ye mohago re ko pele re bone gore ba kanya katsela e ntseng ja maybe in last minute.
Era santala ni go ta go tshwaela gore ga ke utlwa ba bua thata ka commercial sex work or the marginalized groups because akere di khansa gender they are vast. So ga ke utlwa ba bua thata ka the disabled ka the LGBT community le ka the commercial sex works e le dilo gore we need to address because they are there and we really discuss them probably because of norms or policies that are not there but hela se nka se buang ke gore I continue to reiterate gore ntwa e ke ntwa ya me. Let's go out there and continue to make as much noise as possible with my resources, with the government resources, with whatever thing. We need to stop violence because it could happen to my mother, it could happen to my sister, and it's my responsibility to protect them. So I think I'm just saying, let us be accountable wherever you are, however you can.
The minister le maloba ka Friday ha re le ka ko National Youth Council holo na bua jalo gone gore go mo go tshosang kana ka kganya gender based violence ke gore le wena ga o itse gore am I going to be next me ke tsela gore di khantse re tatsa ma re ntse re di atumela re ntse re tshwaragana re le setšhaba re bona gore re ka bereka ka tsela e ntse jang ke go lebogele gore bona le rona mo mosong wa gompieno motho wetso a thulaganya rona a re tere be khuto gone fa mo mosong no jalo re ne re tsamaya re dibile dikgang tsone tsa bong mo lehatshe la rona la Botswana re ba gape re kopana mo mananeng a mangwe a Botswana television ke dira go te pakang Thabiso ke itumetse motho wetso sala sentle.
Dipatlisiso di supa fa dikgwebo